Before there was land, before there were stars, before even time itself had begun, there was an endless ocean, silent, infinite, eternal. From this ocean a ripple emerged, and upon that ripple, reclining on the thousand-hooded serpent Anantashisha, rested a figure serene, timeless, and magnificent. His skin glowed the color of dark rain clouds. His eyes held the calm of the universe itself, and in his hands he carried the symbols of power, a lotus, a mace, a conch, and a discus that could slice through the very fabric of creation. This was Vishnu, the preserver, the one who would rise whenever chaos threatened to consume existence, the one whose story stretches across ages, lifetimes, and entire worlds. Tonight, we begin that story. You might wonder, why has this story endured for thousands of years? Why does Vishnu still matter today in our modern age of technology and skyscrapers? Because Vishnu's story is our story. It is the story of balance, of light pushing back against darkness, of justice triumphing over tyranny, of hope rising even when the night seems endless. Every time the world falls into chaos, every time humanity forgets the path, Vishnu returns, not once, not twice, but again and again. He is eternal, he is timeless, and in telling his story we begin to understand not just a God, but ourselves. To tell the entire story of Lord Vishnu is to attempt the impossible, because his story is not just one book or one epic or even one lifetime. It stretches from the beginning of time through the rise and fall of countless ages, all the way into the future, a future that hasn't even happened yet, but tonight we will attempt it anyway. We will journey through the cosmic ocean. We will watch as Vishnu reclines in eternal meditation. We will see how the lotus blooms from his navel, giving birth to Brahma, the Creator. We will watch as the universe itself emerges from his stillness. We will follow him as he descends into the world, again and again, as his avatars. Matsya, the fish who saved life from a great flood. Kurma, the tortoise who carried a mountain on his back. Varaha, the boar who rescued earth from the clutches of a demon. Narasimha, the lion man who tore through arrogance and protected a child's faith. We will walk with Rama through the forests of exile, stand with him against the mighty Ravana, and see what it means to live a life of perfect duty. We will dance with Krishna, the mischievous cowherd, who grew into the strategist, teacher, and divine guide of the Mahabharata. We will listen to the immortal words of the Bhagavad Gita, spoken on the battlefield, words that continue to shape philosophy and spirituality to this day. And finally, we will look to the future, to the time when Vishnu will return as Kalki, the warrior on the white horse, who will end the darkness of the Kali Yuga and begin the cycle anew. This is not just mythology. This is the eternal rhythm of creation and destruction, the story of how the universe survives, endures, and renews itself, the story of Lord Vishnu. And so, if you've ever wondered, why do gods take human form? Why do stories repeat across ages? Why does humanity always find light in its darkest moments? The answers lie here, in the story of Vishnu. So make yourself comfortable. Let your mind travel back to the dawn of time. Forget the ticking of the clock and the glow of your screen. Instead, imagine the endless cosmic ocean, endless, vast, and silent. And in the middle of that ocean, see him, Lord Vishnu, reclining on the great serpent, breathing slowly, calmly, his eyes half closed in meditation, yet fully aware of all that is and all that will be. From his navel a lotus blooms, and upon that lotus, the first stirrings of creation are about to begin. This is where our story truly starts. Before we can journey through Vishnu's many avatars and cosmic deeds, we must pause and simply look at him. Who is this being, reclining in timeless calm, yet holding the fate of the universe in his hands? The very name Vishnu means the all-pervading one. Not bound by a single place or moment, Vishnu exists everywhere, silently sustaining the rhythm of the cosmos. Where there is balance, where there is preservation, where life continues against all odds, there Vishnu is present. In the grand triad of Hindu gods, the Trimurti, each has a role. Brahma, the creator, brings forth worlds. Shiva, the destroyer, dissolves them when the time has come. But Vishnu, he is the preserver, the guardian who ensures that creation does not collapse into chaos. He is the heartbeat of the universe, steady and enduring. Close your eyes and picture him. His skin is the color of deep storm clouds, blue like the infinite sky, a reminder of his boundless nature. His eyes are tranquil, filled with compassion, yet behind them lies the strength of eternity. He stands with 4 arms, each bearing a symbol of cosmic power. In one hand, a lotus flower, the Padma, symbol of purity and divine creation. In another, the mace or gada, representing strength and the authority to protect. In his third hand, a conch shell, the Shankha, which when blown resounds like the primordial sound of the universe. Om. And in his fourth hand, the Sudarshana chakra, a blazing discus that whirls with unthinkable speed, destroying ignorance and evil wherever it strikes. Together, these objects are not weapons alone, they are messages. The lotus tells us of purity amidst chaos. The mace assures protection. The conch reminds us of cosmic truth. And the discus is the promise that evil will never prevail for long. Beside Vishnu is his eternal consort, goddess Lakshmi, the embodiment of wealth, prosperity, and fortune. Just as Vishnu sustains existence, Lakshmi sustains life with abundance. They are inseparable, for preservation is meaningless without prosperity, and prosperity cannot exist without protection. Often she is shown seated on a lotus, gazing at Vishnu with devotion. While he looks upon her with equal love, their union reminds us that balance in the world is not merely about survival, but about thriving, about flourishing. And beneath Vishnu lies another eternal companion, the serpent Anatashisha. His name means endless remainder, for he stretches without end, coiled upon the cosmic ocean, with 1,000 hoods adorned with jewels. Shisha is both fierce and protective, a symbol of infinity itself. When Vishnu reclines on Shisha, the universe rests as well. When Vishnu awakens, creation begins anew. In this image, we see not just a god at rest, but the very heartbeat of cosmic cycles. But Vishnu does not remain always reclined. When he moves, when he descends into the world, he soars upon the wings of Garuda, a mighty eagle-like being, half man, half bird, radiant with golden feathers and eyes like lightning. Garuda is no ordinary mount. He is the embodiment of speed, courage, and protection against serpents of darkness. Together Vishnu and Garuda sweep across the heavens, descending into battle against forces that threaten balance. Yet Vishnu's greatness is not only in symbols or companions. His essence lies in his role, the one who maintains Dharma, the sacred law of the universe. When balance tilts, when kings grow arrogant, when demons rise unchecked, when humanity forgets righteousness, It is Vishnu who acts. Sometimes he does so gently, guiding quietly from behind the veil. Other times he takes form, descending into the world as an avatar. This is what makes him unique. He is not a distant god, unreachable, locked away in heaven. He is present. He comes to earth, he walks among us, he suffers, loves, fights, and teaches. And in each incarnation, he reminds us that the divine is not separate from the human. It flows through it. Think of creation as a cycle. Brahma begins it. Shiva eventually ends it. But Vishnu ensures it continues in between. Without him, the play would collapse. Without him, there would be no time for growth, no space for civilizations to rise, no chance for love, culture, or wisdom to bloom. He is not the loudest of the gods, not the most destructive, not the most flamboyant. His power is quieter, steady, enduring, and immeasurable, like the ocean tide, like the unseen root beneath the tree. Vishnu works in ways often hidden, yet utterly essential. Throughout Hindu mythology, whenever you see preservation, patience, or protection, you are seeing Vishnu at work. When a king rules with justice, Vishnu is there. When a child clings to faith, even in the face of tyranny, Vishnu is there. When evil grows so bold that the very earth trembles, Vishnu rises to stop it. This is why he is called Hare, the remover of sins, Narayan, the refuge of all beings. Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, his names are countless, because his presence is countless. And across India and beyond, people have painted, sculpted, sung, and danced Vishnu into life. In temples, he is worshipped as the silent preserver. In festivals, he is celebrated through the stories of his avatars. In art, he is shown reclining upon Shisha, or riding Garuda, or standing with Lakshmi, holding the four symbols of his power. Everywhere, he is the same, calm, compassionate, yet always ready to act when the world needs him most. So who is Vishnu? He is the ocean and the calm upon it. He is the hand that steadies the world when it begins to shake. He is the protector of Dharma, the preserver of balance, the eternal witness of creation. And when the world trembles, when evil grows too bold, when chaos threatens to drown existence, it is Vishnu who descends again and again to save it. Now that we have seen him, now that we have felt his presence, we can begin to understand the vast journey of his avatars, the incredible stories through which he preserves the universe. But before we reach those talis, we must go even further back, to the very beginning, to the moment of creation itself, to when Vishnu, lying upon the serpent in the cosmic ocean, gave rise to Brahma, and with him the entire universe. That is where we will go next. In the beginning there was nothing, no earth, no sky, no sun, no stars, only the vast, endless ocean, stretched in every direction, silent and infinite. Floating upon this eternal sea was Lord Vishnu, calm and serene, resting upon the great serpent Ananta Shisha. With each slow breath, universes expanded and contracted, like the tide of infinity itself. For ages uncounted, Vishnu lay in meditation, his eyes half closed, his mind beyond time. Then, when the moment was right, something miraculous occurred. From the navel of Vishnu, a lotus stem began to emerge, golden and radiant. At the end of this stem bloomed a lotus flower, dazzling and bright, floating above the cosmic waters. And seated within that lotus was Brahma, the creator. Brahma looked around at the endless void, confused, uncertain, wondering what he was meant to do. Then he looked down and saw Vishnu below, lying upon Shisha, the embodiment of eternity, Vishnu, with a gentle smile, spoke to Brahma. You are the one chosen to create. From your thoughts the worlds will arise. From your imagination, life will take form. And so, guided by Vishnu, Brahma began his task. From Brahma's mind came the heavens and the earth. From his body came the gods, the sages, the elements, and all living beings. Mountains rose, rivers flowed, stars lit up the dark, and the wheel of time began to turn. All of this was possible only because Vishnu, the preserver, sustained it, ensuring that the fragile creation would not collapse back into chaos. But creation was not a single act, it was a cycle. Just as day follows night, creation follows dissolution. In Hindu thought, time is not linear but circular. The universe is created, preserved, destroyed, and created again. Over and over, in eternal rhythm, Vishnu is present in every cycle, ensuring that the dance of creation continues without end. This cycle is divided into great ages called yugas. There are 4 yugas, each representing a different stage of cosmic order. The first is Satya Yuga, the golden age when truth and righteousness flourish. Then comes Treta Yuga, when balance begins to tilt. After that, Dvapara Yuga, where virtue and vice are evenly matched. And finally, Kali Yuga, the age of darkness where ignorance and corruption dominate. At the end of each cycle, the world dissolves, only to be born again with the next breath of Vishnu. In this way, Vishnu is not merely a god watching from afar. He is the very fabric of continuity, the thread that holds together the universe through countless births and deaths. Every lotus that blooms, every world that rises, owes its existence to the stillness of Vishnu's meditation. But creation was not without danger. As soon as the worlds began to take shape, forces of chaos and darkness also emerged. Demons rose from the shadows, seeking to unmake what Brahma had built. It was then that Vishnu revealed another truth. Preservation requires action. It was not enough for him to simply lie upon the serpent and sustain the cosmos with his breath. At times he would need to act directly, to intervene when creation was threatened. This is the reason for his avatars. The word avatar means descent, a form the divine takes to enter the world. Whenever evil grew too strong, whenever demons threatened to overwhelm gods and humans, Vishnu would descend into the world, taking a new form suited to the challenge. But before we reach those stories, let us linger a moment longer on the image of creation. Picture it. The endless ocean, the serpent of infinity, Vishnu reclining in calm authority, and the lotus blooming from his navel, carrying Brahma, the creator. It is a scene filled with profound symbolism. The ocean represents the unmanifest, the potential of all things before they exist. The serpent Shisha represents infinity, reminding us that time has no beginning and no end. Vishnu is the preserver, the balance between all forces. The lotus, pure and radiant, rising out of the water, represents life and creation emerging from the stillness of divinity. And Brahma, seated upon the lotus, represents the human mind, imagination and thought given power to shape worlds. This story is not just a myth, but a vision of existence itself. Life does not emerge from chaos randomly. It arises from order, sustained by a power greater than ourselves. The cycle of creation and dissolution mirrors the cycle of our own lives: birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. And through it all, Vishnu remains constant, unchanging, eternal. In some traditions, creation begins not once, but many times, each with slight variations. Sometimes it is said that Vishnu dreams the universe into being. Each being, each world, each story we live is part of Vishnu's dream. And when he opens his eyes, the universe awakens. When he closes them, everything dissolves into silence once more. These cosmic tales remind us that creation is fragile, that preservation requires care, and that even gods must act to protect the order of the world. Vishnu is not distant. He is intimately tied to the life of every creature, every river, every star. He is the invisible hand that steadies the universe, the force that ensures the dance of creation continues. And yet, the story of creation is only the beginning. The true drama unfolds when demons rise, when Dharma falters, when kings become corrupt, and when humanity strays from its path. That is when Vishnu descends into the world as an avatar. Each avatar has its own story, its own lesson, its own way of restoring balance. The first of these avatars was Matsya, the great fish, who appeared during a flood to save the seeds of life. His story marks the beginning of Vishnu's active role in protecting the world. But before we hear of Matsya, remember this. Behind every avatar, every heroic act, lies the calm presence of Vishnu reclining upon the cosmic ocean, breathing universes in and out, sustaining the very fabric of reality. Creation may begin with Brahma, but it endures because of Vishnu, and it is Vishnu who promises through his avatars that no matter how dark the age, no matter how powerful the forces of chaos, balance will always return, the universe will survive, life will continue, and Dharma will rise again. When the universe was young, the gods themselves wondered, how can the order of the cosmos be preserved when chaos rises again and again? Vishnu answered not with words, but with action. He revealed a truth that would echo through every age. Whenever the world falls into darkness, whenever Dharma, the path of righteousness, falters, he will descend. These descents are known as avatars. The word comes from the Sanskrit avatra, meaning to cross down or to descend. An avatar is Vishnu himself, taking on a form suited for a particular challenge. Sometimes small, sometimes mighty, sometimes human, sometimes animal, but always purposeful. The ancient texts tell us of 10 principal avatars, the Dashavatara, each appearing in a different age to protect creation. Taken together, they are not just stories of divine intervention. They are a map of evolution, of the struggle between light and darkness, and of humanity's journey toward wisdom. In the earliest age, when a great flood threatened to wash away all life, Vishnu appeared as Matsya, a giant fish. He guided the first man, Manu, and saved the seeds of all creatures. Matsya represents survival, the preservation of life at its most fragile beginnings. When gods and demons churned the ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality, the mountain they used as a churning rod began to sink. Vishnu became Kurma, the tortoise, and bore the mountain on his back. Kurma represents stability and support, the foundation upon which great endeavors can succeed. When the demon Hiranyaksha dragged the earth into the depths of the cosmic ocean, Vishnu descended as Varaha, a mighty boar. He dove into the waters, lifted the earth upon his tusks, and restored her to her rightful place. Varaha is the savior of the planet itself, showing us that even the earth we walk upon must be protected. When Hiranyakashipu, brother of Hiranyakshi, defied the gods and terrorized the world, no man, beast, or god could slay him, so protected was he by boons. Vishnu came as Narasimha, neither man nor beast, tearing the tyrant apart at twilight upon a threshold, fulfilling every condition of the boon. Narasimha represents divine justice, the promise that arrogance and cruelty cannot escape truth. In the next age, the demon king Bali grew so powerful that he conquered heaven and earth. Vishnu appeared as Vamana, a small Brahmin dwarf. Humble and unthreatening, he asked Bali for 3 paces of land. Bali agreed, and Vamana grew into a cosmic giant, striding across heaven and earth in 2 steps. With the 3rd, he pushed Bali down into the underworld. Vamana represents humility and the triumph of righteousness over pride. When the warrior class, the Kshatriyas, became corrupt and oppressive, Vishnu descended as Parashurama, a fierce Brahmin warrior wielding a mighty axe. He brought balance back to the world by humbling the arrogant kings. Parashurama represents discipline, justice, and the reminder that no power, however mighty, can stand above Dharma. In the Treta Yuga, Vishnu was born as Rama, the noble prince of Ayodhya. Exiled to the forest, Rama fought the demon king Ravana, who had abducted his wife Sita. With devotion, courage, and honor, Rama restored Dharma. His story, told in the epic Ramayana, portrays him as the ideal son, husband, and king. Rama represents virtue and the pursuit of righteous duty. In the Dvapara Yuga, Vishnu appeared as Krishna, a playful cowherd, who became a wise statesman and divine teacher. He guided the Pandavas in the great war of the Mahabharata, and in the midst of battle he revealed the immortal teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna represents divine love, cosmic wisdom, and the truth that God is both playful and profound. Traditions differ here. Some say Vishnu appeared as Buddha, the enlightened one, to teach compassion and peace, to guide humanity away from blind ritual and toward truth. Others say his 9th avatar was Balarama, the elder brother of Krishna, symbol of strength and duty. Whichever the tradition, the 9th avatar represents a turning point of focus on spiritual awakening and moral clarity. The last avatar has yet to come. In the dark age of Kali Yuga, when evil reaches its peak and Dharma seems lost, Vishnu will appear as Kalki, riding a white horse, wielding a blazing sword. He will destroy the forces of darkness and renew creation. Kalki represents hope for the future, the assurance that even in the darkest times, light will rise again. The Dashavatara are more than legends. They trace the story of existence itself, from fish to tortoise to boar. They echo the evolution of life from water to amphibian, to land, to man, to enlightened being. Each avatar is also a lesson. Survival, stability, protection, justice, humility, discipline, duty, wisdom, compassion, and renewal. Together, they form a cycle of preservation that remind us that life is fragile, but never abandoned, that chaos rises, but never wins, that whenever the world forgets its path, Vishnu will return. At the dawn of creation, when the world was still young and fragile, the forces of chaos were never far away. Darkness lingered just beneath the surface of the cosmic order, waiting for its chance to rise. And in this fragile age, Vishnu took his first form, Matsya, the great fish. The story begins with a man named Manu, the first man, and the one destined to become the father of all future generations. Manu was righteous, devoted, and wise. One morning, as he walked to the river to perform his daily rituals, he cupped water in his hands, but as he looked closer, he saw something unusual. A tiny fish, shimmering with a strange golden light. The little fish spoke. "Manu, protect me. If you do, I shall one day save you." Manu was astonished. How could a fish speak? But the glow in its scales and the calm voice convinced him that this was no ordinary creature. With compassion, he placed the fish in a small jar of water and carried it home. But the next morning, when Manu awoke, the fish had grown so large that it could no longer fit in the jar. The fish said, "Manu, I have outgrown this vessel. Place me in something larger." Obeying, Manu transferred the fish to a pond. Yet within a few days the fish had grown again, filling the pond entirely. "Manu," it said, "this pond is too small. Place me in a lake." Manu did as asked, but the same thing happened. The fish grew and grew until it filled the lake. "Manu," the fish said, "this lake cannot contain me. Cast me into the ocean." By now, Manu knew that this was not an ordinary fish. He carried it with reverence to the sea, and as soon as it entered the waters, it revealed its true form. A colossal being, scales glittering like diamonds, horns crowning its head, eyes vast as moons. It was Vishnu himself, as Matsya, the fish avatar. Matsya spoke with a voice that rumbled like thunder across the waters. "Manu, the time of dissolution is near. Soon, a great flood will rise and cover the entire earth. All living beings will perish. But you, Manu, must survive. You must preserve life, for without you the world cannot begin." Manu bowed low before the great fish. "Lord, what must I do?" Matsya said, "Build a great ship. Gather upon it the seeds of all plants, the pairs of every animal, and the 7 holy sages. When the floodwaters rise, I will come to you again. You will tie your ship to my horn, and I will lead you to safety until the waters recede." Manu obeyed. For many days he worked tirelessly, building a massive vessel strong enough to withstand the coming storm. He collected seeds, animals, and called upon the sages to join him. And just as Matsya had foretold, the skies darkened, the oceans roared, and rains began to fall. The waters rose higher and higher, drowning fields, forests, and mountains. The world became one endless ocean, stretching beyond sight. Manu and those with him climbed aboard the great ship, carrying with them the future of creation. As the floodwaters churned, Matsya returned, vast and radiant, his horn piercing through the waves like a beacon. Manu tied the ship to Matsya's horn with the sacred serpent Vasuki, and the great fish pulled them across the stormy waters. For days, weeks, months, they drifted through the endless ocean, guided by Matsya. During this time, Matsya revealed many secrets of the cosmos to Manu. He taught him about Dharma, the duties of a king, and the eternal truths that would guide humanity when the new age began. Matsya also recovered the Vedas, the sacred knowledge of the universe, which had been stolen and hidden by a demon during the chaos of the flood. Diving deep into the waters, Matsya defeated the demon and brought the scriptures back, ensuring that wisdom would not be lost. Finally, after long ages, the floodwaters began to subside. Mountains rose again above the sea. Rivers returned to their courses. Forests began to sprout. Manu's ship came to rest upon the peak of a mountain. Vishnu, in his Matsya form, spoke once more. "Manu, from you will come the new generations of humanity. From the seeds you carry will grow plants and forests. From the pairs you have preserved will come the creatures of the earth. Guard them well, guide them with Dharma. And remember, whenever the world is in danger, I shall return." With that, Matsya vanished into the depths of the ocean, leaving Manu and the sages to begin the new cycle of creation. The story of Matsya is one of protection and renewal. At its heart, it is a reminder that life is fragile, that floods of chaos may come, but with guidance and faith, survival is possible. It is no accident that Matsya appears as a fish, a creature of the waters. Just as life on earth began in the oceans, so too does Vishnu's first avatar rise from the waters, ensuring that life continues through the cycles of time. Some see in Matsya's story echoes of flood legends told across the world. The Mesopotamian tale of Utnapishtim, the biblical story of Noah, and others all speak of a flood, of a chosen man, of the preservation of life. But in the story of Matsya, we see something unique. Not only the preservation of humanity, but also the preservation of sacred knowledge. The Vedas, without wisdom, survival alone has no meaning. Thus, Matsya represents both the protection of life and the protection of truth. He is the reminder that even when everything seems lost, even when the world is drowned, hope and guidance remain. Vishnu will not abandon creation. He will descend, take form, and ensure that the flame of life endures. This was the first avatar, the first step in Vishnu's long journey of preservation, and it was only the beginning, for soon, in the next age, the gods and demons would churn the ocean itself, and the world would once again cry out for balance, and Vishnu would return not as a fish, but as a tortoise, the unshakable Karma. The floodwaters had receded. Manu and the sages had begun the work of replanting, rebuilding, and guiding life into the new age. Yet even in this fresh world, the eternal struggle between gods and demons did not rest, for the balance of creation is delicate, and the hunger for power can disrupt it at any moment. The next great challenge arose with the search for Amrita, the nectar of immortality. Without it, the gods, or devas, were losing their strength. Their enemies, the asuras, the demons, were growing in power, threatening to overwhelm heaven itself. In desperation, the devas turned to Vishnu for help. Vishnu, ever the preserver, offered them a plan. The nectar of immortality lies hidden within the depths of the cosmic ocean. To bring it forth, the ocean must be churned, but this task is too great for you alone. You must join hands, not only with each other, but even with the asuras. Together you will churn the ocean and draw out the treasures hidden within it. The devas were reluctant. How could they work with their sworn enemies? Yet Vishnu assured them, "Do not fear, I shall guide the outcome. The nectar will be yours." And so the gods and demons formed an uneasy alliance. They uprooted Mount Mandara, a towering mountain, to serve as their churning rod. For their rope they used Vasuki, the king of serpents. The devas seized one end of the serpent, the asuras the other. Then, with a heave, they began to churn the vast ocean. At first, the mountain sank under its own weight. Plunging into the depths, the devas cried out in despair, but Vishnu descended once more, this time in the form of Karma, the mighty tortoise, vast as a continent. Karma settled at the bottom of the cosmic ocean, his strong shell supporting the mountain like a steady pivot. Now, with Karma holding firm, the churning began in earnest. Back and forth the mountain turned, pulled by gods on one side, demons on the other. The waters frothed, lightning crackled, and the ocean groaned under the strain. As the churning went on, countless wonders emerged from the depths. First came a deadly poison, so terrible that it threatened to consume the world itself. The devas panicked, fearing the end had come. But Lord Shiva, the great ascetic, stepped forward. With courage he drank the poison, holding it in his throat. His neck turned blue, earning him the name Nilkantha, the blue-throated one. Then came treasures beyond imagination. The moon, which Shiva placed upon his head. The divine cow Kamadhanu, source of abundance. the celestial horse Achairavas, the wish-fulfilling tree Kalpavriksha, and the goddess of wealth, Lakshmi herself, who chose Vishnu as her eternal consort. But the greatest prize lay ahead, the pot of Amrita, the nectar of immortality. As it emerged, the asuras rushed forward. Seizing it greedily, chaos erupted. The devas, fearing they had been betrayed, turned once more to Vishnu. And Vishnu did not disappoint. Taking on the enchanting form of Mohini, the divine maiden, he appeared before the asuras. So dazzling was her beauty that the demons were entranced. With sweet words and playful charm, Mohini offered to distribute the nectar fairly among gods and demons. The asuras agreed, their eyes fixed upon her. But as she moved, she gave the nectar only to the devas. Thus the gods regained their strength, their radiance renewed, while the asuras were left with nothing. Balance was restored, the cosmos preserved, and immortality secured for the protectors of Dharma. But through it all, none of it would have been possible without Kurma. The tortoise avatar, silent and steady, bore the weight of the mountain, allowing the churning to continue. Without his foundation, the nectar could never have been drawn, the treasures never revealed. The story of Kurma teaches a profound truth. Preservation often requires stability. Great endeavors demand a strong foundation, a steady support that does not falter under pressure. Kurma, the tortoise, is that symbol of patience, endurance, and balance. Just as a tortoise carries its home upon its back, so too does Vishnu, as Kurma, carry the weight of creation, ensuring that life can continue. This story also reveals another lesson. The nectar of immortality, like all great rewards, is not easily won. It demands cooperation. Even between enemies, gods and demons alike had to pull together, though their goals were different. And in the process many dangers arose: poison, greed, conflict. Yet with wisdom and divine intervention, balance was achieved. It is no accident that Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and fortune, emerged from the churning. For true prosperity, like true preservation, requires patience and balance, and it is no accident that poison came first. For often before great rewards, there are trials to endure. In the grand arc of Vishnu's avatars, Kurma represents the principle of support. Where Matsya saved life during chaos, Kurma enabled life to thrive by ensuring stability in times of struggle. Both are essential. Without survival, there can be no future. Without support, survival cannot flourish. When the churning was over, when the nectar had been secured and the devas restored, Kurma's work was done. The great tortoise sank back into the depths of the cosmic ocean, merging once more with Vishnu's eternal being. But the story of preservation was far from over. Soon the earth itself would fall into peril, dragged into the abyss by a demon's hand, and Vishnu would once again descend. This time not as a fish nor a tortoise, but as a mighty boar, the avatar known as Varaha. The world was still young, still fragile. Creation had barely begun to find its rhythm, yet danger already lurked. From the depths of the cosmic waters rose a mighty demon Hiranyaksha, born of darkness, filled with arrogance and strength. His name meant golden-eyed, but his heart was black as night. Hiranyaksha was no ordinary demon. His power was so great that he conquered the heavens and challenged the gods themselves. With every victory, his pride grew, until finally, in a rage against creation itself, he turned his wrath upon the earth. With colossal force he seized the earth, then still a young goddess, delicate and radiant, and dragged her down into the bottomless ocean. The world was plunged into chaos. Mountains vanished beneath the waves. Rivers disappeared, and the very ground upon which beings stood was gone. The gods were horrified. They rushed to Brahma, the creator, begging for aid. Brahma, in turn, prayed to Vishnu, the preserver. Without the earth, creation cannot continue. Save her, Lord, or all shall be lost. In response, Vishnu gave a mighty roar that echoed across the heavens. From his breath emerged a form none had ever seen before. His body was enormous, dark and gleaming. From his face protruded two mighty tusks, sharp and gleaming like silver spears. His snout was broad and powerful. His eyes blazed like suns. Vishnu had taken the form of Varaha, the great boar. With a thunderous leap, Varaha dove into the cosmic ocean. The waters parted around his colossal body as he plunged deeper and deeper, his tusks cutting through the waves. At the bottom of the abyss he found the earth trembling and weeping in the demon's grasp. Hiranyaksha laughed when he saw him. A boar? The mighty Vishnu hides himself in the form of a beast? You think you can challenge me? His voice thundered like an earthquake, shaking the ocean itself. But Varaha did not falter. He lowered his tusks, and with a swift and mighty strike, he lifted the earth upon them. The goddess, small compared to his vast form, clung to the tusks as he raised her high above the waters. The sight was breathtaking. The earth, shining like a jewel, balanced upon the tusks of the divine boar. Hiranyaksha roared in fury. He lunged at Varaha, and the two clashed in a battle that shook the cosmos. Waves rose like mountains. Lightning flashed across the heavens. The gods and demons alike watched in awe. For 1,000 years, it is said, they fought blow for blow, roar for roar. At last, with a force that shattered the ocean floor, Varaha struck Hiranyaksha with his tusks and trampled him beneath his hooves. The demon's body fell lifeless into the abyss. His arrogance crushed, his terror ended. With the demon slain, Varaha rose from the ocean. The earth still held aloft on his tusks. Slowly, he lifted her back into the heavens and set her in her rightful place, steady and safe once more. The gods cheered, the sages sang hymns, and the earth herself, Bhudevi, bowed before her savior. "You are my protector," she said. "My eternal guardian. Without you I would have been lost." And so the world was restored. Rivers once again flowed, forests bloomed, mountains stood tall, and life returned to the earth. Varaha's task was complete, but his image remained forever. The divine boar, fierce and unstoppable, bearing the earth upon his tusks. The story of Varaha is more than a tale of a battle. It is a symbol of resilience. The earth may sink, buried beneath the weight of chaos and arrogance, but she can always be lifted again. No darkness is so deep that it cannot be pierced by the light of preservation. Varaha represents courage and determination, unlike Matsya, who saved life from the flood, or Kurma, who supported the great churning. Varaha confronts destruction head-on. He does not merely preserve, he fights. He battles, he defeats the forces that threaten creation. The earth on his tusks is a powerful image, one that echoes across temples and scriptures. It reminds us that our planet, fragile and beautiful, depends on protection. Just as Vishnu, as Varaha, saved the earth from the abyss, so too must humanity safeguard her from harm. Hiranyaksha, the arrogant demon, is also a lesson. His downfall came not from weakness, but from pride, believing himself invincible. He dared to challenge the balance of creation itself. In this he represents the dangers of unchecked arrogance and greed, the forces that if left unchecked, can drag the world into darkness. Varaha's victory assures us that such forces cannot prevail. However strong chaos may seem, however deep the abyss, preservation will always rise to the surface. The tale of Varaha is not only remembered in words but carved in stone across India. Temples display the image of the great boar lifting the earth upon his tusks. Worshippers see in this image not only Vishnu's power, but his love for the earth, for life, for balance. Some traditions even describe Varaha as embracing Bhudevi, the earth goddess, as his consort, uniting preservation with the very planet itself. It is a reminder that divinity is not distant, but bound intimately with the world beneath our feet. With the earth restored and Hiranyaksha defeated, the cycle of preservation continued. But the story was not over, for Hiranyaksha had a brother, Hiranyakashipu, whose hatred burned even fiercer, and in the next stage his cruelty would grow so great that no man, beast, or god could destroy him. When that time came, Vishnu would take his most fearsome form, yet half man, half lion, the avatar known as Narasimha. When the boar king Varaha had defeated the demon Hiranyakashipu and restored the earth to her place, the gods breathed easier, but peace, as always, was fleeting. For Hiranyaksha had a brother, Hiranyakashipu, whose fury was unmatched. Hiranyakashipu's heart boiled with rage. His brother had been slain by Vishnu, and vengeance consumed him. If the gods think they can oppose me, if Vishnu thinks he can destroy my kin, he vowed, I will crush them all. I will rule not only the earth, but the heavens themselves. To gain power, Hiranyakashipu turned to penance. He left his kingdom and journeyed into the wilderness, where he stood upon a single leg in fierce meditation for thousands of years. So deep was his austerity that even the gods trembled. Flames from his body reached the heavens. The creator, Brahma, finally appeared before him. What boon do you seek? Brahma asked. Hiranyakashipu bowed, but his mind was cunning. He desired not just power, but invincibility. He demanded, grant me that I cannot be killed by man or beast, not inside nor outside, not during day nor night, not on earth nor in the sky, not by any weapon. Brahma hesitated, but bound by his vow to grant boons, he agreed. And with this twisted blessing, Hiranyakashipu returned to his kingdom, drunk with confidence. With his newfound power, he declared himself supreme. There is no god but I, he proclaimed. Vishnu is a lie. I alone am master of the three worlds. The gods fled in terror. Mortals bowed to him out of fear. Yet in his own palace there was one who refused to bend his son, Prahlada. Prahlada was no ordinary child. From the time he could speak, the name of Vishnu flowed from his lips. He chanted it with joy, sang it with devotion, and lived by it with unshakable faith. His father, Hiranyakashipu, could not bear it. How dare you worship my enemy? He thundered. Do you not know that I am supreme? But Prahlada only smiled softly. Father, you may be king, but Vishnu is the Lord of all. He is everywhere within us, around us, in every stone and every breath. Hiranyakashipu's rage grew. He tried to frighten the boy, but Prahlada would not yield. He tried to bribe him, but Prahlada refused. Finally, in his fury, he decided to kill his own son. He ordered Prahlada to be trampled by elephants, but Vishnu protected him. He had him thrown into a pit of snakes, but the boy emerged unharmed. He ordered him to be hurled from a mountain, yet Prahlada landed safely, chanting Vishnu's name. Poison, fire, storms, nothing could harm him. Every time the boy's faith shielded him. Hiranyakashipu was bewildered. Where is your Vishnu now?" He sneered. "If he is everywhere, as you claim, is he in this pillar of my hall?" Prahlada's eyes shone. "Yes, father, he is there too." Mad with rage, Hiranyakashipu struck the pillar with his mace. The hall shook, the pillar cracked, and from within erupted a deafening roar. Out of the stone burst a figure unlike any seen before neither man nor beast, but both at once. His body was human, but his face was that of a lion, wild and fierce, with eyes blazing like fire and claws sharper than lightning. This was Vishnu, as Narasimha, the man-lion, born to fulfill the boon's conditions and to end the tyranny of Hiranyakashipu. The demon king trembled, but tried to fight. He swung his weapons, but Narasimha caught them in his claws and shattered them. The two clashed in a storm of fury, demon against God, arrogance against justice. As twilight fell the hour that was neither day nor night, Narasimha dragged Hiranyakashipu to the threshold of the hall, a place neither inside nor outside, holding him upon his lap, which was neither earth nor sky. Narasimha tore into him with his claws, weapons not forged by man, with a roar that shook the heavens. He ripped apart the demon's chest, ending his reign of terror. Blood drenched the threshold. The gods rejoiced. The earth trembled with relief. Prahlada bowed, tears of devotion streaming from his eyes. Yet the tale did not end with Hiranyakashipu's death. Narasimha's rage was unquenchable. His eyes blazed, his claws dripped red. His roar terrified even the gods. None dared approach him, for his fury was the fury of cosmic justice itself. The devas pleaded with Vishnu's consort, Lakshmi, to calm him, but even she could not. Finally, little Prahlada stepped forward. With folded hands he bowed before Narasimha. "My lord," he whispered, "you are my protector, my savior. The world is safe. The demon is gone. Please return to peace." Hearing the voice of his devotee, Narasimha's rage softened. He lifted Prahlada in his arms. Blessing him with love, the storm passed. The gods sang hymns of praise, and Narasimha returned to his eternal form as Vishnu the Preserver. The story of Narasimha is a story of justice. It shows that no matter how clever arrogance may be, no matter how many protections pride may gather, none can escape truth. Hiranyakashipu thought he was invincible, but his boon could not shield him from the wisdom of the divine. Narasimha is also the embodiment of divine protection for the devotee. Prahlada's faith was tested again and again, but it never wavered. In the end, his devotion itself brought Vishnu to earth. The message is clear. Those who hold fast to faith, even against all odds, will never be abandoned. There is also a deeper lesson here. Divinity does not always come in gentle forms. Sometimes preservation requires ferocity. Sometimes evil must be torn apart with claws of fire. Vishnu as Narasimha reminds us that Dharma is not passive. It rises, it roars, it defends the innocent with unstoppable force. To this day, Narasimha is worshipped as the destroyer of arrogance and protector of the faithful. In temples across India, his fierce image looms half man, half lion, claws extended, eyes blazing, and at his feet often kneels Prahlada, the child whose faith brought him forth. The story continues to inspire. It tells us that even when injustice seems unshakable, even when arrogance builds walls around itself, there is always a way. Truth will find a form to break through. Justice will roar. With Hiranyakashipu slain and Prahlada blessed, balance was restored once more. But in the ages ahead, arrogance would rise again. in the form of kings who sought to rule heaven and earth alike, and when that time came, Vishnu would not appear as lion or boar or fish, but as a humble dwarf Vamana, the fifth avatar. The story of Narasingha spread through the worlds like thunder. The demon Hiranyakashipu was slain, his son Prahlada was blessed, and Dharma was restored. But the wheel of time turns endlessly, and soon another figure rose to power this time, not through brute force, but through devotion and generosity. His name was Bali, the grandson of Prahlada himself. Bali was no ordinary asura. Unlike his grandfather's enemies, Bali was noble, wise, and loved by his people. He was a just ruler, generous to a fault, and his fame spread across the three worlds earth, heaven, and the underworld. So great was his virtue that even the gods admired him. But with virtue came ambition. Bali's power grew until he conquered the heavens themselves, forcing Indra, the king of gods, to flee. The Devas, weakened and humiliated, turned to Vishnu once more. "Lord," they pleaded, "Bali is righteous, but his power threatens the balance. If he rules the heavens, who will protect Dharma? Who will guide the world?" Vishnu listened. He knew that Bali was not evil like Hiranyakashipu or Hiranyaksha. Bali was a devotee of the gods, even of Vishnu himself, but unchecked power even in good hands can tilt the balance of creation. Vishnu decided that this time victory would not come through battle, but through wisdom. Vishnu was born as the son of sage Kashyapa and Aditi, mother of the gods. From the moment of his birth he shone with divine light, but instead of taking a mighty form he chose to appear as a small, humble Brahmin boy, clad in simple robes, carrying a wooden staff and a water pot. This was Vamana, the dwarf. Though small in size, his presence radiated wisdom and serenity. His eyes sparkled with intelligence, and his smile carried the calm of the infinite. Meanwhile, King Bali was performing a grand yajna, a sacrificial ritual to celebrate his victories and solidify his rule over the three worlds. His court was filled with sages, warriors, and citizens. He gave away gifts freely, for Bali was known never to refuse anyone who came to him. It was into this scene that Vamana walked, his small figure almost lost amidst the grandeur, yet the moment he entered, all eyes turned toward him. His presence commanded respect, for everyone knew that Brahmins carried divine power, no matter their size. Bali rose from his throne and bowed. "Welcome, Holy One. What may I give you? Gold? Cattle? Land? Whatever you desire shall be yours." Vamana smiled gently. "O King, I ask for only as much land as I can cover in 3 steps." The court fell silent. 3 steps? That was all? Such a humble request seemed almost insulting to a king of Bali's stature, but Bali, true to his nature, laughed warmly. "So be it. Ask for more, young Brahmin. I can give you entire villages, whole kingdoms. Why waste your boon on 3 steps of land?" But Vamana shook his head. 3 steps are enough. Just as Bali was about to pour the sacred water that would seal the gift, his guru, the wise Shukracharya, stepped forward. His eyes narrowed as he gazed at the little Brahmin. "Wait, my king. This is no ordinary boy. This is Vishnu himself, come in disguise. Be cautious. With 3 steps he will take everything you own." Bali paused. He respected his guru, but his pride as a ruler and his devotion as a giver were stronger. If this is truly Vishnu, then what greater honor than to give him all I have? What use is wealth or power if I cannot keep my word? I will not break my vow. Let the boy take his 3 steps. With that, Bali poured the sacred water into Vamana's hands, sealing the promise. In that instant, the small Brahman began to grow. His body expanded, taller and taller, until he reached the sky. His head pierced the heavens. His arms stretched across the horizon. His feet covered the earth. Vamana had revealed his true cosmic form as Vishnu, the Lord of all creation. With one stride he covered the entire earth. With the second he spanned the heavens. Now there was nowhere left for him to place his third step. Vishnu, towering above all, looked down at Bali. "O king, you promised me 3 steps of land. I have taken 2. Where shall I place the third?" Bali, humbled yet unwavering, bowed low. "Lord, place it upon my head. I have nothing else left to give." With compassion, Vishnu set his foot upon Bali's head. In that moment, Bali was pushed down into the underworld, Patala. Yet Vishnu was not cruel. Recognizing Bali's devotion, generosity, and honor, he granted him a boon. Though he would rule the underworld, he would also be remembered forever as the most righteous of kings. And so, even in apparent defeat, Bali became immortal in glory. To this day, in Kerala and parts of South India, the festival of Onam celebrates the return of King Bali. When it is said he visits his people once each year, the story of Vamana is unlike the violent clashes of the earlier avatars. Here, Vishnu does not slay or destroy, but teaches through humility and wisdom. Vamana's small form reminds us that greatness is not in size or strength, but in purpose. His 3 strides symbolize the truth that the entire universe belongs to the divine earth, heaven, and even the depths below. King Bali, though defeated, is not condemned. Instead, he is honored. For his devotion and integrity were genuine. This avatar teaches that even the mighty must remember their place, and that power without humility will always be balanced by the divine. It also shows Vishnu's compassion. Unlike with Hiranyakashipu, there was no need for rage, no need for claws or tusks. Bali was a good soul, but his ambition had upset the balance. So Vishnu restored harmony, not through destruction, but through wisdom and mercy. With Vamana's 3 steps, balance was once again secured. The Devas regained the heavens, the earth was safe, and Bali became a ruler of the underworld, remembered with love rather than fear. But as the ages turned, new challenges arose. The warrior kings of the earth began to misuse their power, oppressing the people and forgetting Dharma. Once again, the world cried out for balance, and so Vishnu descended once more, not as a fish, tortoise, boar, lion, or dwarf, but as a warrior Brahmin wielding an axe. Parashurama, the 6th avatar. The story of Vamana had taught kings humility, but the wheel of time turned again, and with it came a new age, an age where rulers forgot Dharma and grew intoxicated with pride. Power became their god. The earth trembled under the weight of Kshatriyas, the warrior caste, who began to misuse their strength. They oppressed their people, ignored the counsel of sages, and mocked the laws of righteousness. It was then that Vishnu took on a new form, not as a gentle preserver, not as a cunning trickster, but as a fiery warrior whose very purpose was to restore balance with blood and steel. This was Parashurama, the 6th avatar of Vishnu. Parashurama was born to sage Jamadagni, a revered rishi, and Renuka, a woman of great purity. From the moment of his birth he was destined for greatness. Unlike his brothers, Parashurama possessed both the discipline of a sage and the ferocity of a warrior. His very name tells his story. Parashu means axe, and Rama means one who delights. He would become the Rama who carried an axe. A Brahmin by birth, but a warrior by destiny. He trained under his father, mastering scriptures, meditation, and ascetic discipline. Yet his heart was also drawn to weapons. With divine guidance, he received an axe from Lord Shiva himself. Forged in celestial fire, with it he became invincible. His strength was unmatched, his will unshakable. At this time there ruled a mighty Kshatriya king named Kartavirya Arjuna. Blessed with 1,000 arms, he conquered vast lands and considered himself unstoppable. His arrogance was legendary. One day, Kartavirya visited sage Jamadagni's ashram. Despite the sage's simple life, his hermitage was full of abundance, for he possessed the divine cow Kamadhenu, who could grant endless resources. The sage, in his humility, welcomed the king with food and comfort. But arrogance knows no gratitude. Kartavirya's eyes fell upon Kamadhenu, and greed filled his heart. This cow belongs to a Brahmin. Impossible. A king like me deserves her more. Ignoring Jamadagni's pleas, he seized Kamadhenu by force and left his laughter echoing. When Parashurama returned and heard of this outrage, his blood boiled. The rage of Dharma awakened in him. He vowed that the arrogance of the Kshatriyas would end. With his axe in hand, Parashurama stormed Kartavirya's palace. The king and his army laughed at the sight of a lone Brahmin. But Parashurama was no ordinary Brahmin, he was Vishnu incarnate. He raised his axe, and with terrifying force cut through the king's 1,000 arms. Kartavirya fell, his pride shattered, his life ended. Kamadhenu was restored to the ashram. But this act ignited a fire that would engulf the earth. The Kshatriyas, furious at their king's death, retaliated. They attacked sage Jamadagni's ashram when Parashurama was away. The sage, gentle and unarmed, was slain in cold blood. When Parashurama returned and saw his father's lifeless body, grief overwhelmed him. But grief soon turned into unquenchable fury. His vow was born. I will rid the earth of the arrogance of the Kshatriyas, not once, not twice, but 21 times, until their pride is broken and balance restored. True to his vow, Parashurama waged war across the earth. Like a storm he descended upon the Kshatriya kings. His axe flashed like lightning. His wrath burned like fire. Kingdom after kingdom fell. No fortress could stop him. No army could withstand him. He did not spare any who misused power. Again and again he cleared the earth of corrupt rulers. 21 times he fulfilled his oath, until the arrogance of the warrior caste was ground into dust. But Parashurama's story is not one of blind violence. With each campaign he restored the balance of Dharma. He gave the conquered lands to the sages, ensuring that wisdom, not greed, would guide society. He reminded the world that rulers are servants of Dharma, not masters of it. Parashurama is a paradox. He is a Brahmin, the priestly caste, yet he lives as a warrior. He meditates in forests, yet his axe thirsts for battle. He destroys, yet only to preserve. In him we see the truth that Dharma is not rigid. Sometimes when balance falters, a Brahmin must fight, and a warrior must seek wisdom. Unlike the avatars before him, Parashurama does not simply disappear after fulfilling his purpose. He remains on earth eternal and undying, waiting at the edge of every age. Legends say he still walks among us, meditating in the mountains, training heroes for battles yet to come. It is said that he taught martial arts to many warriors, including Bhishma, Drona, and Karna of the Mahabharata. He will even live to see the final avatar, Kalki, to whom he will give his axe and his blessing for the last battle of the age. Parashurama's story carries a fierce lesson. Power must serve righteousness, not pride. The Kshatriyas believed their might made them above the law. Parashurama's axe shattered that illusion. But there is also a warning: violence, even for justice, leaves scars. Parashurama's campaigns were necessary, yet they left him restless, burdened by bloodshed. His immortality is both a blessing and a reminder. The struggle for Dharma never ends. He is revered as a teacher, feared as a warrior, and remembered as the living flame of divine wrath. In him, we see that preservation is not always gentle sometimes. It takes the form of fire to cleanse and renew. With the arrogance of the Kshatriyas broken, the world breathed easier. But time moves on, and new challenges arose. The balance of Dharma required not a warrior's axe, but a hero's bow. And so, in an age of kings, treachery, and great battles, Vishnu would descend again, not as Parashurama, the fiery sage, but as Rama, the prince of Ayodhya. Long after Parashurama's axe had silenced the arrogance of kings, the world awaited a gentler yet mightier form of Vishnu. It was an age where Dharma faltered, again, not by demons alone, but by treachery, desire, and the weakness of men. And so Vishnu descended as Rama, the prince of Ayodhya, to show humanity what it truly meant to live by righteousness. In the prosperous city of Ayodhya, ruled by the noble king Dasharatha, there was peace, but also sorrow. Dasharatha had no heir. He performed a sacred ritual, the Patrakameshti Yajna. Seeking blessings for children, from the sacred fire arose a vessel of divine nectar, which he shared among his queens Kausalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra. From Kausalya was born Rama, radiant as the sun, gentle as the moon. From Kaikeyi came Bharata, and from Sumitra, the twins Lakshmana and Shatrughna. Together, the four princes grew in wisdom, courage, and love for one another. But Rama was no ordinary child. From the moment he smiled, sages whispered that he was Vishnu himself, born to destroy the tyranny of Ravana, the demon king of Lanka. Under the guidance of sages, the young princes mastered scriptures and weapons alike. Rama, in particular, stood out not only for his strength, but for his humility and kindness. When the sage Vishwamitra sought aid against demons disturbing his sacred rituals, it was Rama and Lakshmana who accompanied him. There, Rama's valor first shone. He slew terrifying demons like Marisha and Sabahu with ease, restoring peace to the forests. But his destiny awaited in Mithila, where King Janaka held a contest to find a husband for his daughter, the beautiful and noble Sita. The challenge was to lift and string the great bow of Lord Shiva, an impossible task for mortal men. Princes and kings from across the land failed. Then stepped forward Rama. With calm grace, he lifted the bow as though it were but a twig, and in the act of stringing it, the bow snapped with a thunderous crack that shook the earth. Thus Rama won Sita's hand. Their union was no ordinary marriage. It was the coming together of Vishnu and Lakshmi, the eternal pair, born on earth to restore harmony. Back in Ayodhya, King Dasharatha, growing old, declared Rama his heir. The people rejoiced, for Rama was beloved by all. But fate stirred in the palace halls. Kaikeyi, the king's younger queen, who once adored Rama, was poisoned by jealousy and ambition. Urged by her maid, Manthara, she claimed the boons Dasharatha had once promised her, that her own son Bharata should be king, and that Rama be banished to the forest for 14 years. Dasharatha's heart broke, for he loved Rama more than his own life. Yet bound by his word, he could not refuse. When Rama heard the command, he did not protest. With serenity that stunned all, he bowed. Father, let it be so. I will go to the forest, for Dharma lies not in crowns, but in honoring one's word. Sita, with unwavering devotion, insisted on joining him. Wherever you go, my place is by your side. Lakshmana, too, refused to be left behind. Thus began their exile, not as punishment, but as the unfolding of destiny. Leaving behind the golden palaces of Ayodhya, Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana wandered into the wilderness. They built hermitages, lived among sages, and roamed the vast forests of India. Their life was simple, yet their presence was divine. Wherever they went, they brought peace, protecting sages from demons who disturbed their meditations. Rama's bow became a symbol of hope, Lakshmana's loyalty a symbol of brotherhood, and Sita's grace a symbol of purity. But fate does not allow peace for long. In the depths of the forest, the shadow of Ravana stirred. Ravana, king of Lanka, was no ordinary foe. With 10 heads and immense knowledge, he was a master of the Vedas, a great devotee of Shiva, and yet consumed by pride. His arrogance grew with his power, and his desire knew no bounds. One day his sister Shurpanakha wandered into the forest where Rama and his family lived. Seeing Rama's beauty, she was overcome with desire and approached him. Rama, ever gentle, refused her advances. Reminding her of Sita, angered, she attacked Sita, but Lakshmana intervened, disfiguring her in defense of his sister-in-law. Shurpanakha fled to Lanka, wailing to her brother. Ravana's fury ignited. Not only was his sister shamed, but his pride as king was challenged. When he heard of Sita's beauty, desire consumed him. He resolved to make her his own, no matter the cost. Ravana devised a cunning plan. With the demon Maricha's help, he lured Rama and Lakshmana away by conjuring a golden deer. Entranced, Sita asked Rama to capture it. Rama pursued, leaving Lakshmana to guard her. When Rama's cry echoed back, an illusion created by the demon Sita, in worry, begged Lakshmana to find him. Bound by her plea, Lakshmana reluctantly left, drawing a protective line around the hut, the Lakshmana Rekha, warning her never to cross it. But as soon as they were gone, Ravana arrived, disguised as a wandering sage. He begged for alms, and Sita, compassionate as ever, stepped beyond the line to offer him food. In that moment Ravana revealed his true form, towering and terrible. He seized Sita and carried her away in his flying chariot, the Pushpaka Vimana. Her cries echoed through the sky, but none could stop him. Only the noble bird Jatayu tried, fighting valiantly to rescue her, but Ravana struck him down mortally. Thus Sita was carried to Lanka, imprisoned in the Ashoka grove, guarded by demons. Yet her spirit remained unbroken. She clung to her faith in Rama, refusing Ravana's temptations and threats. When Rama returned and found the hut empty, his heart shattered. He wept for Sita, his beloved, his companion, but grief soon turned to determination. With Lakshmana by his side, he vowed to find her, to rescue her, and to end Ravana's reign. Their journey took them southward, where they encountered allies who would change the course of history. The Vanaras, the monkey people, led by the mighty Hanuman and their exiled king, Sugriva. And so began the great alliance, the search for Sita, and the march toward the war that would shake the heavens themselves. Rama's story in exile is not just about suffering, it is about choice. Rama chose Dharma over comfort, Sita chose love over safety, Lakshmana chose loyalty over ease. Together, they showed that righteousness is not tested in palaces but in forests, in hardship, and in trials. The abduction of Sita set the stage for Rama's true purpose, not only to be a prince, but to be the destroyer of arrogance, the upholder of Dharma, and the light in the darkest hour. The forests had seen their sorrows, but greater battles lay ahead. The alliance with the Vanaras, the leap of Hanuman, the building of the bridge to Lanka, and the war against Ravana, these would become the heart of Rama's epic journey. And so, as the sun set on the first half of Rama's tale, the world waited for the dawn of war, when a prince would rise as a hero, and an avatar would fulfill his destiny. Rama's heart burned with determination after Sita was taken. With Lakshmana at his side, he wandered through the forests searching for allies, until fate led them to the exiled monkey king, Sugriva. Sugriva had lost his throne to his brother Vali and lived in fear, but Rama, with his unwavering sense of justice, helped him regain his kingdom by slaying Vali in combat. Grateful and bound by friendship, Sugriva promised to aid Rama in his quest to rescue Sita. Sugriva's armies of Vanaras, the monkey warriors, spread across the land in search of Sita. Among them was Hanuman, the mighty son of the wind god. Blessed with immeasurable strength and devotion, when word came that Sita was imprisoned in Lanka across the ocean, Hanuman leapt into legend. With a single bound he soared across the sea, his body stretching like a mountain carried by the wind. Demons tried to stop him, but none could stand in his way. In Lanka, Hanuman found Sita in the Ashoka grove. Her face pale, yet her spirit unbroken, she sat beneath a tree. Refusing Ravana's temptations and enduring his threats, Hanuman approached her humbly, placed Rama's ring in her hand, and spoke of her husband's love and determination. Sita's eyes filled with tears of hope, for she knew rescue was near. Hanuman offered to carry her back on his shoulders, but Sita refused. It is Rama's duty to defeat Ravana. Only through his victory will Dharma be restored. Hanuman accepted her words, but before leaving Lanka, he unleashed his power. He tore through Ravana's gardens, uprooted trees, and crushed demons by the hundreds. Captured at last, he allowed himself to be bound and taken to Ravana. When the demon king mocked him, Hanuman's fury blazed. His tail was set aflame, but he leapt free, bounding across the city, setting its towers and mansions ablaze until Lanka itself glowed like a furnace. Then he returned to Rama with Sita's message of faith and endurance. The time for battle had come. Rama, Lakshmana, Sugriva, and the vast army of Vanaras marched to the southern shore, but an ocean lay between them and Lanka. Rama prayed to the sea god for passage. But when the ocean delayed, Rama raised his bow, ready to dry the waters with a storm of arrows. Terrified, the sea god appeared and offered counsel. With his guidance, the Vanaras built a bridge of stone across the ocean's Sichu, the bridge that still echoes in memory as Rama's path to Lanka. Across that bridge marched the army of Rama, their war cries shaking the heavens. On the shores of Lanka, Ravana's forces gathered, demons of immense strength, armed with sorcery and weapons of destruction, filled the fields. The two armies clashed, and the war of Lanka began. Day after day the battle raged like the end of the world. Vanaras hurled boulders and trees. Demons conjured illusions and storms. The ground was drenched in blood. The air thundered with roars and cries. Heroes rose on both sides. Indrajit, Ravana's son, who mastered sorcery and could vanish from sight, and Hanuman, whose strength defied all imagination. Indrajit struck with serpent arrows, binding Rama and Lakshmana in coils of venomous snakes. The brothers fell, breathless as despair gripped the Vanaras. But Garuda, the mighty eagle and enemy of serpents, descended from the sky, and with a sweep of his wings shattered the bonds. Rama and Lakshmana rose again, their eyes blazing with renewed fury. Still the war tested them again and again. Lakshmana faced Indrajit in a duel that shook the heavens. Though struck by enchanted arrows, Lakshmana stood firm and with Rama's blessing killed the mighty sorcerer. Ravana's pride cracked with grief, yet his rage grew fiercer. In one terrible clash, Ravana himself entered the battlefield, his 10 heads crowned, his 20 arms wielding weapons that glowed with fire. His roars shook the earth as he unleashed his fury upon Rama. Arrows flew like storms. Weapons clashed like thunder. For days, the battle raged between the prince of Ayodhya and the king of Lanka. At last Rama invoked divine Brahmastra, an arrow blessed by the gods themselves. He raised it high, prayed to the forces of creation, and released it. The arrow pierced Ravana's heart, and the demon king fell with a crash that echoed through the worlds. His 10 heads bowed to the dust. His reign of terror ended. Silence followed, the demons fled, the Vanaras roared in triumph, and the heavens rained flowers. Ravana, for all his pride, was not without greatness. He was a scholar, a devotee of Shiva, and a king of unmatched power. Rama himself honored his fallen foe, saying, "A warrior so mighty deserves respect." Even in defeat, Ravana's body was given a funeral befitting his stature. For Dharma does not end with victory, it extends even to the fallen. At last Rama and Sita were reunited, but their joy was shadowed by the whispers of the world. To prove her purity, Sita entered the flames of Agni. The fire god, the flames licked around her, yet she emerged unharmed, shining with the light of truth. Rama accepted her once more, their bond stronger than ever. With 14 years of exile complete, Rama returned to Ayodhya. The people welcomed him with lamps, lighting the city in a festival of joy that lives on today as Diwali. The festival of lights, Rama was crowned king, his reign becoming the golden age, Rama Rajya, where justice, prosperity, and Dharma flourished. Yet Rama's tale is not merely the story of a prince who fought a demon. It is the story of an ideal of a man who placed duty above desire, honor above comfort, truth above all. Rama is not remembered for his power, but for his unwavering devotion to Dharma. Even when the path was painful, the story of Rama echoes across ages, teaching that righteousness may bend but never break, that love and loyalty endure beyond exile and war, and that light will always triumph over darkness. But time does not stand still. After Rama's reign came another age, when Vishnu would descend again, not as a gentle prince, but as a mischievous cowherd whose laughter and love would capture the hearts of the world. The story of Krishna, the next avatar, was about to begin. In the heart of Mathura, a kingdom ruled by the tyrant Kamsa, a prophecy stirred fear. Kamsa's sister Devaki had just been married to Vasudeva, a noble prince, when a divine voice thundered from the heavens. "The 8th child born of Devaki will be the cause of your death." Kamsa, consumed by terror, seized Devaki and Vasudeva, locking them in a prison of stone and iron. With every child they bore, Kamsa's cruelty grew. One by one he killed them, determined to cheat fate itself, yet destiny cannot be caged forever. When Devaki was heavy with her 8th child, the air itself shimmered with divine energy. That night, in the darkness of the cell, Lord Vishnu appeared in his radiant form, conch, discus, mace, and lotus in his 4 arms. He spoke gently to his terrified but faithful parents. Do not fear, I will be born as your son, to free this world from Kamsa's tyranny. But for now, take me to Gokul, to the house of Nanda and Yashoda. There, as a child among cowherds, I shall grow. In that moment, Vishnu transformed into a tiny infant with lotus-like eyes and a divine smile. Chains that bound Vasudeva fell away. The prison doors swung open, and the guards fell into a deep slumber. Outside, the raging Yamuna River parted its waters as Vasudeva carried the child across in a basket on his head. A serpent, the great Shishanaga, spread his hoods to shield the divine infant from the rain. At dawn, Vasudeva reached Gokul, where Yashoda had just given birth to a daughter. Placing Krishna beside her, Vasudeva returned with the girl to the prison. When Kamsa tried to kill the newborn, the girl slipped from his hands and revealed herself as the goddess Yogamaya. She rose into the sky and declared, "Foolish Kamsa, the one destined to destroy you already lives, far from your reach." Kamsa's fear turned into a frenzy. He unleashed his demons to hunt the child, but destiny was already smiling in Gokul. In Nanda's household, Krishna grew not as a prince, but as a cowherd boy, loved beyond measure by Yashoda, who believed him her own son. His childhood was a blend of innocence and divine mischief. From the very beginning, Krishna's beauty enchanted all who saw him. His skin dark as rain clouds, his eyes sparkling with play, his laughter like music. The women of Gokul would gather just to glimpse him crawling in the dust, tiny anklets tinkling as he moved. But Krishna was no ordinary child. His mischief was boundless, earning him the name Makan Chor, the butter thief. He would sneak into homes with his friends, break pots of curd and butter, and feast on the spoils. The village women, exasperated yet charmed, would complain to Yashoda, "Your son is a menace. He steals butter, he feeds it to the monkeys, he dances on the rooftops." Yashoda would scold him, but the moment she saw his wide, innocent eyes, her anger melted. Once, when she tied him to a mortar as punishment, Krishna dragged it between two trees, pulling them down with a crash that revealed two celestial beings freed from a curse. The people whispered, "This child is no ordinary boy." Even his play carried the scent of the divine. He would herd cows with the other children, his flute sending notes so sweet that even the birds paused in flight to listen. The cows followed the sound, their ears twitching with joy, and the entire forest seemed to come alive at the touch of his music. Yet behind the sweetness of his childhood lay constant danger. Kamsa, desperate to destroy the prophecy, sent demon after demon disguised in terrible forms. The first was Putana, a fearsome demoness, who came in the guise of a beautiful woman. She cradled the infant Krishna and offered him her breast, smeared with deadly poison. But Krishna, the eternal child, drank not only her milk, but her very life. With a scream, she fell, her body stretching for miles, her disguise shattered, while the baby Krishna laughed innocently in her arms. Next came Shakatasura, who entered a cart to crush the child. Yet Krishna, lying beneath it, kicked once, and the cart toppled. The demon destroyed. Trinavarta, a whirlwind demon, tried to carry him into the sky, but Krishna clung to his neck, choking him until he crashed lifeless to the earth. Again and again, Kamsa's plots failed, and each failure only added to Krishna's growing legend. Among the villagers, his miracles inspired both awe and fear. Once, Yashoda looked into Krishna's mouth while scolding him for eating mud. What she saw froze her in wonder. The vast universe, the sun, the moon, the stars, and all of creation swirling inside her little boy. Trembling, she closed her eyes, unable to comprehend the vision. Yet when she opened them, Krishna smiled innocently, as if nothing had happened. Another time, while playing by the river, Krishna and his friends encountered the serpent Kaliya, who had poisoned the waters with his venom. The river boiled with death, fish floated lifeless, and even birds fell from the sky. The villagers wept, but Krishna leapt into the water. The serpent wrapped him in coils, but the boy burst free and danced upon its many hoods, each step forcing the mighty creature lower. At last, Kaliya surrendered, his wives pleading for mercy. Krishna spared him, but banished him from the Yamuna, restoring life to the waters. From that day, the villagers knew their little cowherd was the protector of all. Yet Krishna was still a child at heart. He played tricks on the gopas, stealing their clothes while they bathed in the river, forcing them to come out with shy laughter. He teased them, but beneath his games was a deeper truth. For Krishna was not merely a mischievous boy, he was the embodiment of divine love, and the gopas were drawn to him not by mischief, but by the irresistible call of the soul to the divine. In those early years, Krishna grew as both a child of Gokul and the eternal Lord. To Yashoda he was her son, bound by motherly love. To his friends he was a companion, racing through fields, eating with them, laughing with them. But to the demons he was death itself, the smiling destroyer of evil. Each day of his youth was a story, each moment a miracle, as destiny prepared him for the battles yet to come. Even as Kamsa's spies carried news of Krishna's deeds back to Mathura, the tyrant trembled. He could no longer ignore the prophecy. He summoned Krishna to his city, hoping to end the threat with his own hands. But before that chapter unfolded, Krishna's childhood in the pastoral fields of Vrindavan blossomed with joy, play, and love days that would forever remain the sweetest songs of his story. As Krishna grew from a mischievous child into a radiant youth, the village of Vrindavan seemed transformed into paradise itself. The fields bloomed brighter, the Yamuna's waters sparkled with greater sweetness, and the air carried a music unlike any other. Wherever Krishna went, joy followed, for he was no longer only the butter thief of Gochil, he was the very heartbeat of Vrindavan, the magnet of every soul that longed for him. It was in these years that Krishna's flute became his voice, a sound that carried the mysteries of the universe and the tenderness of love. When he lifted the flute to his lips, its song rippled through the trees, stirred the waters, and called to every living being. Birds stopped mid-flight, deer froze in wonder, and even the river herself seemed to pause in devotion. But most of all, the gopas, the cowherd maidens of Vrindavan, were enchanted. The gopas lived simple lives, tending to cows and homes, yet their hearts were bound to Krishna. Whenever the notes of his flute reached them, they abandoned their chores, leaving milk to spill and fires to burn. They would run, breathless, to the forest, drawn by a force they could not resist, for in Krishna they saw not merely a handsome youth, but the divine beloved their souls yearned for across lifetimes. Among them one shone brightest, Radha. Her beauty was like moonlight, her devotion unmatched, her love for Krishna beyond words. Together, Radha and Krishna walked the groves of Vrindavan, their laughter echoing through the bowers, their union symbolizing the eternal dance of the soul with the divine. Radha was not merely another gopi, she was Krishna's very essence reflected back at him, his eternal companion through all ages. The stories of Krishna's play with the gopas filled Vrindavan with whispers and songs. On moonlit nights when the air was scented with jasmine and the Yamuna shimmered like silver, Krishna would play his flute, summoning them to the forest. There, beneath the trees, the dance of love would unfold, the Rasa Lila, the divine circle dance. It is said that as the gopas danced around him, each one felt Krishna was by her side alone, his eyes locked on hers, his smile meant only for her. In truth, he multiplied himself so that no one felt abandoned, for the divine love he embodied is infinite, never favoring one soul over another, yet Radha's presence burned brightest, her bond with him surpassing all, a love so pure that even the gods bowed to it. But their love was not without tests. Once, when Krishna vanished from the circle, the gopis wept and searched, their longing so deep it became a fire of devotion. Radha, too, wandered the forest, her heart breaking with separation. Yet in that pain was hidden a secret. The more one longs for the divine, the closer one truly comes. When Krishna returned, their reunion was not just of lovers, but of the eternal union of devotee and Lord. The villagers often gossiped about Krishna's closeness with the gopas, but theirs was no earthly romance. It was a love that transcended boundaries, teaching that the relationship between the soul and God is not one of fear or distance, but of intimacy, joy, and surrender. Through his playful love, Krishna revealed that devotion is not about rituals or duties alone. It is about giving one's whole heart. As the gopas did, holding nothing back, Radha's love for Krishna became the measure of devotion itself. It was not bound by reason, nor diminished by separation. Even when Krishna teased her, disappeared, or stirred jealousy by smiling at other gopas, her heart remained fixed on him, unwavering. In her love, the world sees the highest form of bhakti, the surrender of the soul to the divine, without condition. Krishna's charm was not limited to the gopas. All of Vrindavan adored him. The older women treated him as their son. Unable to resist his smile, the cowherds looked to him as their leader, for he protected them from dangers no one else dared face. Once, when the villagers prepared offerings to Indra, the god of rain, Krishna stopped them. "Why worship Indra," he said, "when it is Govardhan Hill that gives us grass, food, and shelter?" Enraged, Indra sent storms to flood the land, but Krishna lifted the mighty hill with his little finger, holding it like an umbrella to shield the people and animals. For 7 days and nights the rains poured, but none were harmed. At last Indra bowed to Krishna, realizing the cowherd boy was no ordinary mortal. The people of Vrindavan rejoiced, singing his praises. To them, Krishna was protector, lover, child, and friend all at once. Yet through it all, his bond with Radha remained the deepest melody of his youth. Their love was not bound by time or place. It was eternal, a flame that still lights the hearts of devotees who sing their names together as one. As Krishna grew, whispers spread beyond Vrindavan, tales of his miracles, his beauty, and his love reached even the ears of Kamsa. The tyrant's heart trembled, for he knew the child he had sought to destroy was alive. Flourishing and beloved, he summoned Krishna to Mathura, determined to end the prophecy once and for all. But for the people of Vrindavan, especially the gopas, his departure was a wound too deep to bear. When Krishna left for Mathura, Radha and the gopas wept in silence, their eyes filled with longing. Yet their love was not diminished, for though he left the village, he remained forever in their hearts. Thus Krishna's youth in Vrindavan was not merely a season of play, it was the revelation of divine love in its purest form. His flute was not just music, it was the call of God to the soul. The gopa's response was not mere infatuation, it was surrender, the highest devotion. And Radha's bond with Krishna was not an earthly romance. It was the eternal truth that God and the soul are incomplete without one another. The forests of Vrindavan may one day fall silent. The Yamuna may change her course, but the songs of Radha and Krishna remain eternal, echoing in the hearts of all who seek love beyond this world. For in their dance, humanity glimpses the secret of creation itself, that the universe is nothing but the endless play of love between the divine and the soul. And yet, as enchanting as Vrindavan was, destiny called Krishna to a larger stage. Beyond the cowherd's flute lay the battlefield of kings, the fall of Kamsa, and the rise of Dharma. The lover of Vrindavan would soon become the liberator of Mathura. When the summons from Mathura arrived, carried by Kamsa's messengers, Krishna knew the moment had come. His youth in Vrindavan, filled with music, mischief, and love, had been a prelude. Now destiny called him to face the tyrant whose shadow had loomed over his life since birth. With his brother Balarama at his side, he bid farewell to Nanda, Yashoda, Radha, and the Gopas. Their hearts broke in silence, but Krishna's gaze lingered, carrying the promise that though he departed in body, he would never leave their hearts. As Krishna entered Mathura, the city trembled with anticipation. People whispered of his miracles, his beauty, his strength. They lined the streets, garlands in hand, eyes filled with hope. For years they had suffered under Kamsa's cruelty, and now the deliverer had arrived. Krishna and Balarama moved through the crowd like twin comets, their presence igniting joy wherever they passed. Kamsa, however, seethed in fear and fury. He arranged a grand wrestling match, intending to humiliate and kill the brothers. The arena was filled with warriors, elephants, and executioners, all waiting for the king's signal. But when Krishna entered, the demon's strength melted like wax before the sun. He wrestled the strongest of Kamsa's champions, tossing them aside as easily as he once lifted Govardhan Hill. Balarama too crushed his foes with thunderous might. The crowd roared, their voices rising in a tide of liberation. Then Krishna leapt into the royal gallery. He seized Kamsa by the hair and dragged him from his throne. The tyrant's eyes widened with the terror of fate fulfilled. With one swift blow, Krishna ended his reign. The prophecy spoken at Devaki's wedding had come true. The chains of Mathura broke that day, and its people rejoiced in newfound freedom. Devaki and Vasudeva were released from prison, their eyes overflowing with tears as they embraced the sons they had been denied for so long. But the fall of Kamsa was only the beginning. His allies and relatives, mighty kings and demons, seethed with vengeance. Jarasandha, the emperor of Magadha and Kamsa's father-in-law, swore to destroy Krishna. He marched with armies countless as the stars, laying siege to Mathura again and again. Each time Krishna and Balarama fought valiantly, repelling the invaders. But Krishna knew that endless war would drain the people. Strategy, not force alone, would secure their survival. So he chose wisdom over pride, leading his people westward. Krishna founded a new city by the Sia fortress, of such brilliance and beauty that it seemed to rise from the ocean itself. This was Dwaraka, the golden city, where towers gleamed like sunlight and walls rose strong against all foes. There Krishna established his kingdom, ensuring safety for his people and prosperity for generations. In Dwaraka, Krishna revealed another side of himself, not just the warrior, but the statesman, the diplomat who could bend the tides of power with his mind as easily as with his bow. He forged alliances, guided kings, and became the center around which the politics of Bharat revolved. His counsel was sought by rulers, his friendship cherished by heroes. Yet even in this role, Krishna's battles never ceased. He clashed with countless foes, each more dangerous than the last. He slew the tyrant Narakasura, whose cruelty had enslaved thousands of women, whom Krishna then freed and restored to dignity. He battled Shalva, who attacked Dwaraka with sorcery and flying machines, shattering illusions with his divine weapons. He defeated Pandraka, a deluded king who dared to impersonate him, declaring himself the true Vasudeva. Krishna struck him down with the Sudarshana chakra, proving that falsehood cannot stand against truth. But Krishna's might was not for conquest. Unlike other kings, he sought not to expand his realm but to protect Dharma, to guide humanity through a time of chaos. His greatest battlefield was not of armies but of relationships, alliances, friendships, and the subtle weaving of destiny. One of his closest bonds was with Arjuna, the Pandava prince. Their friendship was forged in trust and loyalty, and Krishna became both charioteer and guide to Arjuna in times of joy and despair. This bond would one day become the very heart of the Mahabharata, when Krishna would reveal the eternal truth of the Gita. But even before that great war, Krishna's wisdom shaped the fate of kingdoms. When the Pandavas faced injustice at the hands of their cousins, the Kauravas, it was Krishna who stood by them, offering counsel and aid. He helped them establish their kingdom at Indraprastha, blessed their reign, and defended their honor when Draupadi, their queen, was humiliated in the Kaurava court. Krishna's fury at that moment was a fire that promised retribution, and though he bided his time, the seeds of the Kurukshetra war were already sown. Through it all, Krishna balanced roles that seemed impossible to unite. To the Yadavas, he was their king. To the Pandavas, he was their ally and friend. To enemies, he was a strategist whose cunning could outmatch the greatest generals. To the people, he was protector and sustainer. And yet, within the halls of Dwaraka, among his many wives and children, he was also the playful, loving companion who filled his home with laughter. His marriages, too, carried the mark of destiny. He wed Rukmini, the princess who prayed for him with such devotion that he carried her away from her unwanted suitors. He married Satyabhama, the proud yet devoted queen, who stood by him in many battles. With each, Krishna showed different facets of love, tender, playful, steadfast, divine. But no matter how far he traveled as king, warrior, or diplomat, the memory of Vrindavan remained a quiet flame in his heart. The songs of the Gopas, the gaze of Radha, the playful dances by the Yamuna, they lingered beyond time. For Krishna's story was not a path from one stage to another, but a circle where the lover, the warrior, and the guide were all one. As the years in Dwaraka unfolded, Krishna's name spread across Bharat and beyond. Kings trembled at his strength, sages bowed to his wisdom, and the people sang of his kindness. Yet destiny had not finished with him. Ahead lay the Kurukshetra war, the greatest conflict the world had ever known, where Krishna would reveal his deepest truth not merely as king or hero, but as the eternal divine who upholds the universe. The drums of destiny thundered across Bharat. The rivalry between the Pandavas and the Kauravas had long simmered, but now it erupted into war. Kurukshetra, a vast plain that stretched as far as the eye could see, became the stage where the fate of Dharma itself would be decided. And at the center of it all stood Krishna, no longer just the playful cowherd of Vrindavan or the king of Dwaraka, but the eternal charioteer, the divine guide of mankind. The seeds of this war had been planted years earlier. The Pandavas, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva had been cheated out of their kingdom by the cunning Shakuni, and the arrogance of Duryodhana, the eldest of the Kauravas. Draupadi, the Pandavas' queen, had been dragged into the court, her dignity insulted, her cries echoing through the assembly. Krishna's fury at her humiliation blazed like fire, though he restrained his wrath, knowing that the time of reckoning would come. As alliances were forged and armies gathered, both sides turned to Krishna, for his counsel and power were unmatched. Duryodhana sought him, and so did Arjuna. Krishna, ever just, offered them a choice. One could have his vast Narayani Sena, his mighty army, while the other could have Krishna himself but unarmed. Vowing not to lift a weapon in battle, Duryodhana, blinded by pride, chose the army. Arjuna, with humility and devotion, chose Krishna. Thus, Krishna became Arjuna's charioteer, not warrior, and in that choice lay the heart of the Mahabharata. The day of battle dawned, the conch shells blared, and the two armies faced each other like oceans ready to clash. Chariots gleamed, elephants trumpeted, arrows bristled like forests of death. On one side, the Pandavas with their allies, led by righteousness. On the other, the Kauravas, with numbers and might, led by ambition and arrogance. The earth trembled under the weight of millions. As Arjuna stood on his chariot, gazing upon the field, his heart faltered. Before him he saw not enemies, but teachers, cousins, uncles, and friends. Bhishma, the grandsire he revered. Drona, the guru who had taught him to wield the bow. Karna, his unknown brother. Though he did not yet know it, his arms trembled. His bow Gandiva slipped from his hand. Krishna, he whispered, I cannot fight. How can I kill my kin? Better to renounce and live in the forest than to stain my hands with their blood. It was in that moment on the trembling earth of Kurukshetra that Krishna revealed his timeless truth, the Bhagavad Gita. He spoke not as a friend, nor as a mere charioteer, but as the eternal Lord. Arjuna, your sorrow comes from illusion. The body may fall, but the soul is eternal, neither born nor destroyed. Just as one discards old clothes for new, so does the soul move from body to body. Death is not the end, nor is life the beginning. Arjuna listened, torn between love and duty, but Krishna pressed on. To fight for Dharma is your duty as a warrior. Action cannot be avoided, for even to abstain is an action, but act without attachment, without desire for reward. Offer all to me, and you will be free. Arjuna's doubts lingered, and so Krishna unveiled his true form. In a blaze of light he revealed the Vishvarupa, the cosmic form that spanned the heavens. Arjuna saw countless worlds within him, suns and moons, birth and death, gods and demons, all arising and dissolving in his vast being. He saw time itself, devouring all, even those standing upon the battlefield. I am time, Krishna's voice thundered, the destroyer of worlds. Even without you, all these warriors are already slain. Arise, Arjuna, be my instrument. Overwhelmed, trembling, Arjuna bowed. His fear dissolved into clarity, his doubt into resolve. My delusion is gone, he said. I will fight. With Krishna as his charioteer, Arjuna rose, his bow blazing like fire. The battle of Kurukshetra began in earnest, a war that raged for 18 days, filled with valor, treachery, and destiny. Bhima shattered enemies with his mace. Nakula and Sahadeva fought with brilliance. Yudhishthira held the banner of Dharma high. On the Kaurava side, Karna unleashed his unmatched skill. Drona led with ruthless precision, and Bhishma, bound by his vows, fought with a sorrowful heart. Through it all, Krishna steered the chariot, guiding Arjuna with words, with silence, with the subtle weaving of destiny. Though he vowed never to fight, his presence tilted the balance when Bhishma, the grandsire, could not be defeated. Krishna himself leapt from the chariot, Sudarshana chakra in hand, his vow forgotten in love for his devotee. Only Arjuna's desperate plea stopped him, and Bhishma laid down his arms willingly, knowing that his time had come. When Karna faced Arjuna, their battle shook the heavens. Karna fought with the power of the sun itself, but fate bound him, his chariot wheel stuck in the mud, his bowstrings breaking at the moment of need. Arjuna's arrow, loosed at Krishna's command, struck him down. The brothers were united only in blood spilled on the battlefield, the tragedy of their bond hidden until too late. At last Duryodhana stood alone, his army shattered. Bhima faced him in single combat, striking him down with a blow to the thigh, a violation of the rules of war but the only path to victory. With Duryodhana's fall, the war ended, leaving the field strewn with corpses, rivers of blood flowing where once the Kuru clan had thrived. Yet victory was bitter. The Pandavas stood amid ashes. Their children were slain, their kin destroyed. Yudhishthira's heart was heavy, questioning the worth of Dharma itself. But Krishna reminded them that the path of righteousness is not measured by gain or loss, but by fidelity to truth. The Bhagavad Gita became the eternal gift of that war, a scripture not confined to battlefield or era, but guiding humanity through all ages. Krishna, in revealing himself as the eternal Lord, showed that he was not just a player in the game of kings. He was the ground on which the game was played, the time that devoured all, the love that sustained all. And yet, even after Kurukshetra, Krishna's role did not end. He continued to guide the Pandavas, ensuring that their rule was just, their burdens eased. But his gaze stretched further still, to the decline of the Yadavas, his own clan, and the closing of an age. For just as he had come to restore Dharma, he would also depart when his purpose was fulfilled, marking the end of Dwapara Yuga and the dawn of Kali Yuga. But that is another chapter. On Kurukshetra's plain, what endured was not the clash of arrows, nor the cries of warriors, but the words Krishna spoke, the song of the Gita, echoing through eternity, calling every soul to rise beyond fear, beyond doubt, and unite with the divine. When the dust of Kurukshetra settled and the cries of war faded into silence, Krishna remained at the heart of the story. Though the Pandavas ruled with Yudhishthira as king, guided always by Krishna's wisdom, the cost of victory weighed heavily on all. Mothers wept for sons, widows mourned husbands, and the land itself seemed scarred by the fury of battle. Krishna knew that Dharma had been upheld, but he also knew that the age of heroes was nearing its end. In Dwaraka, his golden city, life returned to splendor, but within its walls seeds of decline had already been sown. The Yadavas, Krishna's own clan, grew mighty and arrogant. Blessed with strength and invincibility, they became reckless, their pride swelling like a storm cloud. Krishna, who had guided gods and kings, could see what was coming. He had upheld Dharma on earth, but now the wheel of time demanded its turn. The Yadavas themselves would bring about their destruction, and with it, Krishna's earthly mission would close. The curse began with a jest. One day, some Yadava youths, mischievous and heedless, disguised Samba, Krishna's son, as a pregnant woman and brought him before the sages. Laughing, they asked mockingly, "O wise ones, tell us whether this woman will bear a son or daughter." The sages, insulted by their arrogance, cursed them. "She will bear a mace, and that mace shall bring about the destruction of your entire clan." True to the curse, Samba gave birth not to a child, but to a mace of iron. Terrified, the Yadavas rushed to Krishna, but his eyes were calm, for he knew this was fate. The mace was ground into powder and thrown into the sea, but the grains washed ashore, sprouting into reeds of iron. One piece of the mace, too solid to be destroyed, was fashioned into an arrow. Thus destiny sharpened its edge. Time passed, and the curse ripened. Quarrels broke out among the Yadavas, their laughter turning to anger, their pride to violence. At a festival by the seashore in Prabhasa, they drank deeply of wine, and the iron reeds grew into weapons in their hands. Brother struck brother, friend struck friend, until the sand was stained red. The invincible Yadava clan, who had stood beside Krishna in countless battles, annihilated one another in blind rage. Balarama, Krishna's beloved brother, departed soon after, sitting in deep meditation beneath a tree until his spirit left his body, merging with the great serpent Anantashisha. Krishna watched with sorrow, but also serenity, for the time had come. One day Krishna sat alone in the forest, beneath the shade of a tree. His form was still radiant, but his gaze was far away, fixed on eternity. A hunter named Jara wandered there, bow in hand. From a distance he saw Krishna's foot, shining like a deer in the dappled light. Mistaking it for his quarry, he loosed the iron arrow, the one remnant of Samba's cursed mace. The arrow struck Krishna's foot, the only mortal part of his body. The hunter rushed forward in horror when he realized whom he had struck. He fell at Krishna's feet, weeping, begging forgiveness. Krishna, with a gentle smile, lifted him up. "Do not grieve," he said. "This too is the will of time. You are but an instrument. As Arjuna was on Kurukshetra, my work here is done." And so, lying beneath the tree, Krishna closed his eyes. His body remained, but his spirit soared beyond the mortal world, returning to his eternal abode in Vaikuntha, where Lakshmi awaited him, where the endless play of the cosmos continues without beginning or end. The earth shuddered, the heavens wept, and the age of Dwapara Yuga ended with his departure. When the Pandavas learned of Krishna's passing, grief consumed them. Arjuna, their mightiest, felt his strength wane, his Gandiva bow slipping from his grasp. Without Krishna, the world seemed empty, its light extinguished. The Pandavas knew their time too had come. They crowned Parikshit, Arjuna's grandson, as king, and set forth on their final journey, walking northward toward the Himalayas, seeking liberation. The wheel of time turned once more, ushering in the dark age of Kali Yuga, an era of discord and decay. Yet even in this age, Krishna's presence did not vanish. His words, spoken to Arjuna on the battlefield, became eternal. The Bhagavad Gita, a light for all souls seeking guidance. His stories, from the playful days in Vrindavan to the wisdom of Dwaraka, lived on in song and scripture, carried in the hearts of devotees who called his name. And so Krishna's departure was not an ending, but a transformation. For though the hunter's arrow pierced his foot, time itself could not touch him. He remains in the laughter of children, in the music of flutes, in the cry for justice, in the whisper of conscience. He is the eternal Lord who descends again and again. Whenever Dharma falters and the world cries out for light, the Yadavas perished, the Pandavas departed, the ages turned. But Krishna's story endures not as a tale of the past, but as a living truth, guiding humanity through the storms of time. For the cowherd boy, the lover of Vrindavan, the warrior of Mathura, the statesman of Dwaraka, the charioteer of Kurukshetra, as also the eternal protector of the universe. And though he left the earth that day beneath a quiet tree, his flute still plays in the hearts of those who listen, reminding them that love, courage, and dharma are never lost. Krishna's departure marked more than the loss of a king, a warrior, or a friend. It was the closing of an age, the silencing of a flute whose melody had carried across the world. With him, the brilliance of Dvapara Yuga dimmed, and the curtain lifted on Kali Yuga, an era where confusion and conflict would test humanity's endurance. Yet his presence never truly vanished. The Gita remained, his stories endured, and his love became an eternal refuge. And so the cycle continued, for Lord Vishnu does not descend only once, nor limit himself to a single form. Time after time, age after age, he takes shape to guide, to restore, to protect. After Krishna's dazzling life, another figure entered the tapestry of avatars, an avatar unlike the others, one who would teach through renunciation, compassion, and silence rather than conquest or battle. This was the 9th incarnation, remembered in different traditions as either Balarama or the Buddha, each embodying a distinct thread in Vishnu's endless story. The story of Vishnu's avatars had already unfolded across countless ages, from the great cosmic fish that saved humanity to Krishna, the charioteer who revealed the secrets of existence itself. But as the wheel of time turned and the age of Kali began, the 9th step in this journey took a form unlike the rest, a figure of peace rather than war, of silence rather than thunder. Yet even here there is a mystery, for traditions differ. Some say Vishnu came as Balarama, Krishna's elder brother, the strong one who carried the plow. Others say he descended as Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, the awakened one who turned away from violence and sought truth and compassion. In many temples across India, particularly in the south, Balarama is remembered as the 9th avatar. His story was intertwined with Krishna's, his strength and devotion complementing his brother's brilliance. Where Krishna wielded strategy, Balarama bore raw might. His weapon was not a sword or bow, but the humble plow, a reminder that the earth itself must be nurtured. That strength lies in sustaining life as much as in conquering foes. Balarama's life was one of simplicity. He preferred the quiet rhythms of the land to the courts of kings. When Krishna dazzled with diplomacy, Balarama taught the dignity of labor, the value of grounding oneself to the soil. In his devotion, he embodied the principle that Dharma is not only preserved in wars and councils, but also in the humble act of tilling the earth, feeding the people for many. His avatar symbolizes Vishnu's reminder that civilization stands not only on heroes and kings, but on farmers, on those who nourish and sustain. Yet in another telling, in another stream of tradition, the 9th avatar takes an altogether different form, that of the Buddha. Born as Siddhartha Gautama, prince of the Shakyas, he was raised in luxury, surrounded by gardens, music, and pleasures. His father, seeking to shield him from the harshness of life, kept suffering from his sight, but destiny could not be hidden forever. When Siddhartha ventured beyond the palace walls, he saw what had been concealed from him: an old man bent with age, a sick man writhing in pain, a corpse carried to the flames. Finally he saw a wandering ascetic, serene despite his poverty. These visions struck him like lightning. In that moment, Siddhartha realized the fragility of earthly joys and the inevitability of suffering. One night, while his wife and newborn child slept, he left the palace, stripping off his ornaments. Abandoning his titles, he walked into the forest. Seeking truth years past, he studied with sages, practiced harsh austerities, pushed his body to the edge of death. Yet wisdom eluded him. Finally, beneath a Bodhi tree at Gaya, he sat in meditation, vowing not to rise until enlightenment came. Temptations assaulted him, visions of fear, desire, doubt, but Siddhartha's mind held firm. At dawn, as the morning star rose, he awakened. He became the Buddha, the enlightened one. The Buddha's teaching was simple yet profound. Life, he said, is marked by suffering, but suffering arises from attachment, from desire to free oneself. One must walk the eightfold path: right view, right action, right speech, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. His way was not of conquest, but of compassion. He rejected animal sacrifice, spoke against violence, and taught that all beings, regardless of caste or birth, could find liberation. His voice was a cool stream in an age burning with greed and strife. For some, this was Vishnu's incarnation, a deliberate descent to guide humanity away from ritual excess, from cruelty, toward gentleness and reflection. In this telling, Vishnu became the Buddha to remind the world that Dharma is not only upheld with weapons and power, but also with compassion and detachment. Where Parashurama cut down the arrogant, where Rama fought demons, where Krishna revealed cosmic truth, the Buddha simply sat beneath a tree and showed the path to peace. Yet the inclusion of Buddha as Vishnu's avatar is not without controversy. Some traditions see him not as the Lord's true descent, but as a test, a way to draw demons and false seekers into paths away from the Vedas, only to eventually lead them back to truth. Others embrace him fully, seeing no contradiction between Vishnu and the Buddha, for both are lights in different forms, guiding humanity toward the eternal. This duality, Balarama, the plow-bearer, Buddha, the renunciate, captures the richness of the ninth avatar. It is as though Vishnu himself is saying that no single path contains the whole of Dharma. At times it is upheld by strength, by standing rooted in the earth and wielding power for good. At other times it is upheld by laying down arms, by turning inward, by seeing the futility of violence and the power of compassion. Both paths flow toward the same ocean. Stories of the Buddha spread far beyond India, carried by monks and pilgrims across Asia, reaching lands where Rama and Krishna were unknown. Yet the essence remained, a call to awaken, to rise above suffering, to live with compassion. Stories of Balarama endured too. In villages where farmers tilled the land and prayed to the strong brother who carried the plow, blessing the harvest, two visions of the same truth, one worldly, one renouncing, yet both reflecting Vishnu's endless adaptability. As the age of Kali deepened, people clung to these stories. Some saw in the Buddha the hope of peace in a violent age. Others saw in Balarama the reminder that the earth must be tended, that Dharma is not only lofty philosophy but also the simple act of sustaining life. And in both, Vishnu's hand could be felt, ever guiding, ever present. But even this was not the final word, for the wheel of avatars does not stop with the ninth. Ahead lies the 10th, the final, the most mysterious, the rider yet to come, whose arrival will end the darkness of Kali Yuga and restore the world to light. The promise of Kalki still waits at the horizon, the last dawn of Vishnu's descent. The world grows darker as the wheel of time turns. Ages pass, and Kali Yuga deepens its grip. Greed, corruption, and cruelty spread like wildfire. Truth is buried beneath lies. Rulers exploit their people. Families crumble under selfishness, and violence becomes the way of the world. Rivers dry, forests fall, and humanity forgets the sacred. Dharma, once standing tall on 4 legs, now limps on 1, its voice almost drowned in the clamor of chaos. Yet just as night is darkest before dawn, so too does the promise of light remain. For Vishnu's vow is eternal. Whenever Dharma falters, whenever the balance of the world collapses, he will descend. At the very end of Kali Yuga, when the world can no longer bear its weight of sin, he will appear as Kalki, the final avatar, the destroyer of darkness, the herald of a new age. Unlike the gentle cowherd Krishna, unlike the serene Buddha, Kalki is a warrior of fire. His form is described in visions handed down through scripture. A radiant figure astride a white horse, sword flashing like lightning, eyes blazing with fury. He is both protector and destroyer, a storm sent to sweep away corruption and clear the ground for renewal. His very name means the destroyer of filth, for he comes not to soothe or persuade, but to end. In the imagination of seers, the scene unfolds with apocalyptic grandeur. Cities lie in ruin, their streets filled with greed and deceit. Kings wage war not for justice, but for vanity, and the people suffer under endless strife. Into this age of despair thunders Kalki, his white steed leaping across the horizon. The sound of his approach is like thunder shaking the earth. His sword burns with celestial fire, cutting through the armies of the unrighteous as if they were made of shadows. The corrupt fall before him, the demons disguised as men are struck down, and the world trembles as the weight of sin is lifted. With each swing of his blade, he does not merely kill. He purifies, for in Vishnu's hands, even destruction is an act of mercy, clearing the ground so that Dharma may rise again. But Kalki is not only a figure of wrath. In the visions of sages, he is also a teacher, a restorer. After the storm of his coming, he will revive the sacred wisdom, reawaken forgotten truths, and guide humanity into Satya Yuga, the age of truth, the golden dawn where compassion, righteousness, and harmony reign once more. His companions, great sages and warriors reborn, will stand with him to rebuild the world, planting seeds of virtue in soil cleansed by fire. In this way, Kalki's story is both an ending and a beginning. It is the close of Kali Yuga, the darkest chapter, and the opening of Satya Yuga, the brightest. The cycle of ages continues, just as it always has, like the turning of seasons, like the waxing and waning of the moon. For Vishnu's work is never finished, and his avatars are not one story but many, each a chapter in the endless rhythm of time. For centuries people have wondered, when will Kalki come? Scriptures describe the signs, the collapse of morality, the reign of greed, the loss of wisdom. Many look at the world around them and ask if his arrival is near. But the truth is not bound to dates or calendars. The vision of Kalki is less about a single event in the distant future, and more about the promise that darkness never has the final word. The cycle of decay always carries within it the seed of renewal. In villages and cities across India, storytellers evoke Kalki, not with fear, but with hope. For though his sword is sharp and his eyes blaze with fire, his purpose is love, the love that refuses to let the world drown in its own corruption. He is the reminder that no matter how far humanity falls, the divine does not abandon it. Vishnu's vow is unbroken, his protection eternal. And so, at the close of the Dashavatara, we see the circle complete, from Matsya, who saved life from the flood, to Kurma, who bore the weight of the mountain, from Narasimha's roar to Krishna's flute, From Buddha's silence to Kalki's thundering hooves, the avatars tell one story. The story of protection, of balance, of the Lord who walks beside creation in every age. Kalki has not yet come, but his promise hangs in the air like the fragrance before rain. It is a reminder to live not in despair, but in readiness to uphold Dharma in our own lives, to choose compassion over cruelty, truth over falsehood. For when the age turns and the white horse rides forth, those who walk in righteousness will find themselves under his protection, carried into the dawn of a new age. Thus the story of Vishnu's avatars does not end in sorrow, but in renewal. For even at the edge of destruction, there is the promise of light, the eternal rhythm of time, guided by the Lord of preservation, who never abandons the world, but returns again and again until the end of all ages. The story of the 10 avatars is more than a collection of myths. It is a mirror held up to the cosmos, to humanity, and to the soul itself. Each incarnation of Vishnu is not only a tale of gods and demons, of battles and miracles, but also a lesson, a symbol, a reflection of how life evolves and how truth sustains itself through the shifting tides of time. The first avatar, Matsya the fish, reminds us of beginnings. In the vast flood that threatened to erase all life, Matsya appeared as the guardian of continuity. He carried the seeds of creation through chaos, a reminder that even when everything seems lost, life is never abandoned. The fish is a symbol of survival, of adaptation, of the divine hand that preserves knowledge and carries it safely into the future. From water to land, Kurma the turtle represents stability. When gods and demons churned the ocean for immortality, the mountain threatened to sink. It was Kurma who bore its weight upon his back. In this image lies a profound truth. All endeavors, even the pursuit of immortality, require a foundation. The turtle, slow and steady, shows that patience and support are as divine as glory and victory. Then comes Varaha, the boar who plunged into the cosmic waters to rescue the earth itself. His tusks lifted the world from drowning. His roar silenced the arrogance of demons. Varaha's story speaks of restoration, of pulling life out of darkness. It is the eternal message that no matter how deeply truth sinks beneath ignorance, it can always be raised again by divine strength. Narasimha, the man-lion, bursts forth with a different energy. He is fury incarnate, a storm unleashed against tyranny, yet he also represents the mystery of balance, neither man nor beast, neither day nor night, neither indoors nor outdoors. In his form, the divine shows that protection comes in ways beyond imagination, that justice bends no rules yet finds its way. Narasimha is the assurance that arrogance will always be torn apart by truth, no matter how invincible it appears. Vamana, the dwarf, comes next, small in form, humble in appearance, yet carrying a universe in his stride. He does not fight with weapons but with wit, reclaiming the world from a demon through a promise and 3 steps. In him, humility itself becomes divine. He reminds us that greatness is not always measured in size or force, but in the subtle power of righteousness cloaked in simplicity. Then Parashurama, the warrior with the axe, his story burns with anger against corruption, against kings who had forgotten their duty. He cleared the earth of arrogance, but he also teaches that justice, when driven by wrath, can itself become a burden. Parashurama symbolizes the cycle of correction, the reminder that even protectors must learn to temper strength with compassion. After him comes Rama, the prince of Ayodhya, the hero of the Ramayana. In Rama, we see the ideal king, The devoted son, the loyal husband, his story is one of sacrifice, of duty, of dharma carried even into exile. Yet it is also filled with sorrow separations, trials, battles that test the soul. Rama embodies the principle that dharma is not always easy, but it must be upheld even at great cost. He is the image of virtue walking the human path. Krishna follows, the most playful, the most profound. He is the cowherd who plays the flute and steals butter, the lover who enchants the gopas, the strategist who topples tyrants, the charioteer who reveals the Giti. In Krishna, we see the divine in all its colors: joy, love, wisdom, and wrath. He is the fullness of life itself, a reminder that God is not distant, but woven into every laugh, every struggle, every moment of truth. Then comes the ninth avatar, in its dual forms, Balarama, the strong who tills the earth, and the Buddha, the serene who turns away from violence. In both we see a quieter wisdom, a pause in the thunder of battle. They remind us that dharma is not only preserved by force, but also by compassion, by grounding, by reflection. Strength and peace are both divine, both necessary for balance. Finally, Kalki, the warrior yet to come. He is the storm on the horizon, the rider on the white horse, the sword of fire that will end the age of darkness. He is the promise that no matter how deep the world sinks into greed and cruelty, light will return. Kalki is not only the destroyer, but also the renewer, clearing the ground for a new beginning. Seen together, the Dashavatara is like a story of evolution itself, beginning in the waters with Matsya, moving through amphibious Kurma, to terrestrial Varaha, to the half-beast Narasimha, to the dwarf Vamana, to human warriors and kings, to divine teachers, and finally to the future Redeemer. Many have seen in this a reflection of life's own journey, from the ocean to the earth, from simplicity to complexity, from survival to morality, from chaos to renewal. Yet beyond science, beyond history, the avatars symbolize something deeper, the endless adaptability of dharma. Vishnu does not come once and for all. He comes again and again, in forms suited to the need of the time. Sometimes he is strength, sometimes cunning, sometimes love, sometimes silence. He shows that the divine does not stand apart, but steps into the world, sharing its struggles, guiding it gently back to balance. For the devotee, the Dashavatara is not just a cycle of myths, but a sourcia of hope. When life feels like a flood, remember Matsya. When burdens weigh heavy, remember Kurma. When truth seems lost, remember Varaha. When tyranny rises, remember Narasimha. When you feel small, remember Vamana. When corruption surrounds you, remember Parashurama. When duty feels hard, remember Rama. When confusion overwhelms, remember Krishna. When the world aches for peace, remember the Buddha or Balarama. And when despair whispers that all is lost, remember Kalki, the promise that light will always return. The avatars are not faraway gods, but reflections of our own journeys. Each lives within us, the fish that survives, the turtle that steadies, the boar that restores, the lion that roars, the dwarf that reclaims, the warrior that corrects, the king that sacrifices, the friend that loves, the sage that teaches, and the rider who promises renewal. Together, they tell us that we too are part of the eternal dance of Dharma, that we too can rise again and again with the divine. And so the Dashavatara is not merely the story of Vishnu, it is the story of creation, of humanity, of the soul's eternal journey. It is the reassurance that no matter the age, no matter the trial, the Lord walks with us, returning in every form necessary, until time itself finds rest. The stories of Vishnu's avatars may span across oceans of time, but their echoes are not confined to the past. They live on in songs sung at dawn, in lamps lit at twilight, in grand temples that rise like mountains of stone, and in the quiet whispers of prayer within countless homes. Vishnu is not only the preserver of cosmic order, he is also the guardian of daily life, the presence who lingers in devotion, guiding hearts toward balance and light. Across India and far beyond, the worship of Vishnu and his avatars has shaped entire cultures. For some, he is Narayan, the eternal resting upon the cosmic serpent Ananta, his breath setting the rhythm of creation. For others, he is Rama, the king whose story defines duty and honor. For millions more, he is Krishna, the playful lord of Vrindavan, whose flute still calls the soul toward joy and love. And in every form, the message remains the same. He is never distant, never absent, but always watching, always returning. In villages, the worship may be simple, a clay idol, bathed in water, offered flowers with children singing bhajans in cracked but earnest voices. In great cities, it becomes magnificent temples adorned with towering gopurams, golden spires, halls filled with music, chanting, and ritual. But whether small or grand, whether whispered alone or sung by thousands, each act of devotion connects the devotee with the eternal preserver. The temples themselves are more than stone and ornament. They are embodiments of cosmic truth. The great Vishnu temples of India stand as living symbols of devotion and artistry. Take the Tirumala Venkateswara temple in Andhra Pradesh, where pilgrims climb hills and wait in endless lines just for a fleeting glimpse of the Lord. His idol, adorned with jewels, is said to radiate a power so intense that even a moment in his presence transforms the heart. Millions come each year, offering prayers, promises, and gratitude, believing that Vishnu himself resides there, listening. Far to the south in Tamil Nadu, the Sri Rangam temple sprawls like a city of devotion. Its concentric walls enclose shrines, courtyards, and bustling streets, where vendors sell flowers and sweets, all converging toward the sanctum where Ranganatha, Vishnu, reclining upon Ananta, waits in serene majesty. To enter is to step into a world where time slows, where every stone seems to hum with centuries of worship. Then there's the Jagannath Temple of Puri, one of the most sacred shrines in all of India. Here, Vishnu is worshipped as Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, his round-eyed image both simple and profound. The annual Ratha Yatra, the great chariot festival, sees massive wooden carts pulled by thousands of devotees through the streets, their chants rising like thunder. It is said that even a glimpse of Jagannath during this festival washes away lifetimes of karma. In this temple, the universality of Vishnu is made visible. He is not only God of the gods, but Lord of all, embracing every soul without distinction. Across the waters of Kerala lies the Padmanabhaswamy temple, where Vishnu reclines in his cosmic pose, Ananteshana, on the serpent Ananta. Here he is both infinite and intimate, both ruler of the universe and guardian of the devotee. Beneath this temple lie treasures of unimaginable worth, but the true wealth is the faith of those who bow before him, seeing in his repose the calm of eternity itself. The worship of Vishnu is not only rooted in temples, but also in traditions that ripple outward into daily life. Festivals like Diwali celebrate the return of Rama to Ayodhya. When lamps are lit to banish darkness, Janmashtami honors the birth of Krishna. When devotees fast, sing, and reenact his playful childhood, breaking pots of butter tied high above the streets. Holi, the festival of colors, carries echoes of Krishna's mischief with Radha and the Gopas, a celebration of love and joy that spills over in every hue. In the north, the Ram Lila brings the Ramayana to life, as entire towns become theaters, with actors portraying Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, and Ravana. In the west, Krishna's stories fill the air with bhajans and kirtans, sung with clapping hands and swaying hearts. In the east, the Jagannath Yatra gathers millions, while in the south, the Alvars, the poet saints of Tamil Nadu, poured their devotion into songs that still echo through temples today. The legacy of Vishnu stretches even beyond India. In Nepal, he is worshipped as Narayan at the Budhanokantha temple, where a massive stone image lies reclining upon the serpent in a pond. Open to the sky in Cambodia, the great Angkor Wat today, the largest religious monument in the world, was built as a Vishnu temple, its bas-reliefs depicting his avatars, including the churning of the ocean of milk in Thailand, Indonesia, and Bali. The stories of Rama and Krishna shape art, dance, and theater, living threads of devotion carried across seas. But the greatest legacy of Vishnu is not in temples or festivals, but in the way his avatars touch the soul. Rama inspires courage to uphold Dharma, even at great cost. Krishna teaches love that transcends the material, wisdom that guides through confusion. Narasimha reminds us that arrogance never triumphs over truth. The Buddha whispers that peace is the highest strength, and Kalki assures us that even in the darkest hour, renewal will come. Vishnu's worship endures because it is not about fear of punishment, but about love and protection. He is the God who descends, who does not remain aloof, who walks among men and women, who takes their burdens and restores balance in every prayer, every offering, every song. The devotee finds not only a God to revere, but a friend, a guide, a protector who is always near. And so, from the roaring festivals of Puri to the quiet lamps lit in a village hut, from the ancient walls of Angkor Wat to the clamor of Janmashtami in crowded cities, Vishnu's presence continues. His story is not only ancient but living, not only mythic but immediate. The temples may be stone, the idols may be metal or wood, but the devotion they hold is timeless. For as long as the world turns, as long as rivers flow and songs are sung, the worship of Vishnu will endure. His legacy is not just in the past or in distant shrines, but in the heartbeat of devotion itself, an eternal reminder that the Preserver is always present, watching, guiding, returning, again and again, for the sake of his creation. From the cosmic ocean to the village temple, from the roar of Narasimha to the whisper of Krishna's flute, the story of Vishnu is the story of life itself, of protection, renewal, and the eternal struggle for balance. His avatars remind us that whenever darkness rises, light will return. Vishnu is not distant. He walks with us again and again, in every age, in every form. The Dashavatara is not just myth but a living promise that love, truth, and Dharma endure, and that the Preserver will always guard creation until time itself rests.